Do we all want to do the clap?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
one.
on 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. Phil refused.
I missed it. He said on 1, 2, 3, and then you guys just bang.
You missed it.
I thought we'd clap on 3.
You missed.
Clapping is a part of my profession. I do lots
And
of
he
clapping.
rapid fired that
Always.
counting too. He was like 1, 2,
I do
3.
so much
I'm like,
clapping.
All right. So for Phil's sake, we'll do another clap.
yay!
After
You ready?
I'll figure out on 1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
There we go. All together.
Yeah, nailed it.
One. We are one unit all together.
All for one and one
For all.
For real.
The Three Musketeers.
Because there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what is it? Is it the Disney version of the Musketeers has 4 on the cover?
Do they?
I think they
Well,
have,
there's Man in the Iron Mask as well.
Okay.
There's 4.
Yeah. So they've never been consistent with the numbers of Musketeers, whatever you call them. Anyway, welcome to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron,
My name's Vicky.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Zoe.
and today is the day where we take on the Joker. There is a lot
There is a lot.
to be discussed here.
Yes.
I
Very
did not come up with an
thought-provoking.
opening question. Do we just want to jump right in and just like...
Let's go for it.
All right, so we'll play some intro music. It is the shortest intro of this podcast of all
Because
time.
we got a lot to talk about with
Yep.
this film.
Yep.
Episode 39 kicks off now.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please
I can stop.
talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right, 1, 2, there we go.
No, I
Now
thought we were
you're
counting
doing it on
3 and then
purpose
clapping.
now.
You changed the rules.
Oh my goodness. All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron,
My name's Vicky.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Zoe.
So annoying.
and we can't even apparently.
Nope.
So let's start with this
First of all,
first. Okay,
we
all right.
all picked 2-hour movies. Did anyone notice that?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we obviously like long movies.
Yes, we do.
They're good quality movies.
They
It's fine.
Did you guys finally see Godzilla -1
No.
yet?
No.
Okay, well, we'll talk about.
No
We'll
spoilers.
hold off.
Okay.
I know they're doing a black and white one. and
Yeah, I saw that. That's
that
really,
might be my next chance to go see it. Like
Yeah.
I might actually go to the movie to see that.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. It's we'll talk about that when you guys get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
So, the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
I hope you wrote down like in order of the scenes and stuff, because if not, I'm
kinda
gonna be
did.
jumping around.
I
all over
didn't.
the place.
I'm
I
pulling
took.
up on
I took
Wikipedia.
no notes.
No.
This
Okay.
is the first, Aaron.
all right.
I know. I asked him about it. He goes, "I'm not going to." I'm like, "Okay."
What my intention with that, my explanation is, I knew it was going to be an intense movie, and I knew that if I tried to take notes, that it was going to really take away from the experience. So that's why I didn't
Yeah, true.
take notes.
I've got the Wikipedia plot
Okay,
right
so
here.
we've
Awesome.
got the we have Wikipedia'd ourselves. That didn't sound right. I didn't Wikipedia'd ourselves.
No.
Enunciate.
We are
Em-
redlining,
Put,
guys.
putting the right.
Redlining.
Put the put the M. Okay, hold on.
So bad.
I'm glad because I'm right here. I could see it. I'm like,
We'll see if that helps.
But
All right.
I did make Phil pause and go back multiple times so I
Multiple
could get
times.
the quotes right.
All right. So let's take a step back, and I'm going to be very honest, and then we'll go blow by blow, scene by scene, moment by moment. And this is just to prepare Zoe for what's coming. I'm checking my I'm okay. I did not. Again, how do I say this? So when I go and watch movies, right? I watch movies for the entertainment value, for the escapism, for the ability to go into a fantastical, wonderful, interesting world that is not my own. I went into the Joker knowing, okay, it's going to be rough.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the darkest, most depressing, like rock solid, like just continually an assault on your, I don't want to say senses, but on your emotions.
In
like
your
it is-
heart and
Yeah,
stuff.
it is just, it's like those little boxing balls, like things you see that like, that's what it felt like every step of the way. I will say this, and then we'll get into it. If you take a step back from this movie, which I can't do with this movie, most movies I'm able to do a clinical view of things and I can figure it out. I couldn't with this one. But if I was able to, by some miracle of the Pope, get Pope John Paul out of the grave and have him bless it.
Not the current Pope.
Yeah, no. Well, there's two previous. There's Pope John Paul II, and there's Ratzinger. And I think did he die finally?
Finally. All Catholics
Hit
are
the
going to
button,
come
hit the
for
button.
you.
Well,
That's why we need a button.
We need a button.
boop, Pope, boop, 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 dead, boop, boop, boop. Yeah, it's great. It's good times.
Speaking of dark humor,
Real.
So my thing is if I was able to do that, and if I broke out my notebook and I sat down with the lights all on and I just went and did a full on explication of this movie, of the narrative, the writing, the acting, the directing, the color, the cinematography, the editing, the music. If I was to do that in a clinical sense, removing any and all emotion and evaluating it from that, it absolutely is a banging awesome movie. It's fantastic. It's brilliant in how it does everything. It is a sports car of a film that looks like a Volkswagen Beetle. It does everything it's supposed to do. But here's the problem. It doesn't do it in a nice way.
It's not a feel-good movie.
No, it is
No.
a rude, Rudy Tooty, punch you in the face, whatever you want to call it. It's just
it's sit down. We're going to make you think, and it's not
Yeah.
going to be pretty, and it's going to hurt.
Right.
Get ready.
And-
Buckle
Well,
up.
The thing is, so it's about the Joker, but
Yeah.
it's not shot like a comic book movie
No.
at all.
Right.
And so, to what you're saying, to really enjoy this movie, you have to either one, be like Zoe, or number two, like the Joker.
Yeah.
And want to be and are interested in his backstory.
right. And to Zoe's credit, she's a school counselor. She's getting her LPC. This is your wheelhouse. This is
my jam.
this is everything that you do and more. And so to that credit, we watched it and we're going to get through it, and I'm going to rely heavily on Zoe to kind of walk us through this because on the other side of this, it is important because you look through the notes in the show, the movie, and you look through the IMDb notes and you look at the research, and a lot of the things that are presented are actually really real.
Yeah.
There was actually a conversation from a criminal profiler or a detective, whatever, who has been a source on a lot of movies. And their quote, I can't remember if it was him or her, their quote was, they're like, I have never seen a movie do this so well and explains the criminal mindset and how it devolves and how it becomes what it is. And he or she said, this is what you needed. This is what, it was so incredible to see that. But on the other side of that, wow, we get to see that. And so I'm going to be the guy who's going to say, look, there's a couple things that if I was going to do the clinical thing that I would have not done in this movie, but whatever, they did what they did. But on the other side, there's a good chance you're not going to hear my voice a lot in this podcast because I'm going to take a step back and kind of just be like, well, whatever I'm going to say is not going to be nice or positive because of my experience.
Right.
And I don't want to stomp on Zoe's movie because it's a good, if you go through it with the eye towards technical movie making prowess, this movie is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the ring laying the smack down on
Yeah, not actor Dwayne "The Rock."
No, the actual wrestler,
The
The Rock. The Rock, you smell what The Rock was cooking, and he dumped it on you and dropped the people's elbow 4 times, and you're just like, what is happening? Oh my gosh. That's how good this movie is when you look at it through that thing. So, all of that to say, Joaquin Phoenix is a legend,
A legend.
and he inhabits this role and just blows your mind at every sense. So let's start.
I think we should also start by saying that 99.9% of the time, Zoe is not a fan of the Batman universe.
Really? That is interesting.
It's interesting because we love Batman.
Yeah, Batman's not my jam, really.
So
So
she-
I have to lean heavily on Phil about the comic aspects
Yeah.
of
Okay.
the movie.
Got it.
So she likes this Joker movie.
Okay.
She doesn't really like The Dark Knight, but she likes the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Okay.
And she likes the newest The Batman.
Oh yeah.
And
With
if you
Robert,
think-
Robert Pattinson, yeah.
So are you
But
seeing
he's
a
a little
pattern
darker.
here?
Yeah.
They're all dark movies.
Yeah. Well, and we could talk. When we get down the road here, we can talk about the comparison, the Robert Pattinson dynamic of the darkness there. With the
I am
darkness.
vengeance.
I talked about that a lot during the movie, the
Yeah.
parallels of that.
Yeah. Well, and the sad thing is that the way that this movie is set up, it's set up when Bruce Wayne is like 7 years old.
Right. Yeah.
And so this Joker is going to be a lot older by the time, and they've said that they don't intend to have this Joker go up against Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah, they've been very clear.
Yeah.
Like, no.
The sequel has been announced, and Lady Gaga is playing Harley Quinn, and there's a bunch of other actors and actresses in the mix.
And it's a musical.
Which at first
That's a
I
well
thought that
cast
would
role.
be
Lady Gaga. I mean,
I thought that would be a strange choice. But after watching this Joker, I can see why making the sequel a musical could make sense.
And to that point, I will tell you, Lady Gaga is a acting chameleon. She inhabits the roles. A fair statement. I don't watch American Horror Story. It is absolutely the
but
opposite.
there was the other movie she was in where she's singing. What's it called?
A Star is Born.
Yeah.
Right. So she was with Bradley Cooper and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
She's also very dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay.
So she is good at inhabiting roles. She also has a stellar singing voice, and she's very good at all the things. Like she's not just a singer, she's not just a vocalist, she's not just a writer, musical song. Like she has all the chops she needs. I think it'll be interesting to see how she reflects the role, considering we have seen a lot of Harley Quinn over the years. I am cautiously optimistic, but again, because my suspicion is it's going to be a Joker and Harley Quinn centric movie, I am probably going to tap out. Like if we do it for the show, great, y'all watch it. I think one run in with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was enough for me. I will not, and I think I told VIcki today, I was like, I will not watch this movie again. I can't do it. I can't get down in the dirt.
It's heavy.
It is,
Yeah.
and it earns every moment. It earns, as we're gonna go through. I'm gonna tell you, like it earns every single scene it puts up for you to deal with. But it's
not your jam.
It's rough. Not my.
It didn't make him happy.
No.
It made him sad.
And I literally sat down here last night after we watched, and I was like listening to Star Trek music, reading my Star Trek fiction, imagining a better world, and just like trying to get Joaquin Phoenix out of my head. So that was great. It was a good time. Thanks for the trauma and the abuse.
Well, real life is hard, Aaron.
Good
The thing
comeback.
is, like, yeah, like
oh,
I think
Zoe, I
that's
love
what,
you so much. You're the voice of reason that makes me think.
I love going into the darkest pits with people. I don't know. They're so vulnerable, and
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a part of that. And
and the reality of it is that humanity, I would argue, we keep saying we're going to actually get into the movie, but humanity as a whole, I think we do start out in the hole. We are not good people. The people that will make the argument that humanity is good, like at its base, I don't want to accuse them of lying, but I also want to gently be like, I don't think you've met a lot of humans outside of whoever it is that is doing everything wonderful in your life. But we start out kind of rough, and
you're surely not on social media if you're saying that.
Yeah. Have you met X, formerly Twitter?
You have to teach kids to behave well.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't do it naturally.
Right. So it's that whole thing is, I think, to your point, is correct. Is that the movie helps in its own weird way or its own way to say, yeah, we're messed up, and there are not a lot of redeeming characters in this movie.
No.
We'll get to why I think one of them shouldn't have been as irredeemable as they tried to paint him, but neither here nor there. All right, so let's begin. Let's find our way to the beginning of the movie. How does it all start?
I would like to actually start with a interesting fact I thought was interesting. Apparently, the director of this movie also did the Hangover movies.
for real.
For real.
Interesting.
I know. It wouldn't have.
I was like,
It just
Todd
goes to
Phillips
show.
sounds familiar, but I couldn't think of what movies he's done.
Well, there you go. He went from directing Madcap Adventures in Vegas to Gotham Darkness.
Interesting.
Okay. So how does the opening scene? You have to remind me, because again, it's not that I blacked out all of it. I didn't want.
I believe it's when he's talking to the social worker.
Okay. Yeah. So we start. So the first half of this movie is the Joker's character, his humanity. He's taking his meds. He's living with his mom.
Going to therapy.
He's trying, but it's clear it's not working all the way. Something is more wrong with him than anything. And it's interesting parallel VIcki was talking about. It does parallel the late 80s and early 90s, mostly a lot of the late 80s New York City, and really how badly people were treated. And there was a tenseness in that world. There was a tense, almost like a fire was going to be lit and between people and in communities. And so it does that really well. The parallels that it draws between what we had in the 80s and early 90s in New York and what the 80s and 90s in Gotham is as well.
And all kinds of things like the popularity of clowns. I had a clown at my 4th birthday party. It wasn't creepy at the time.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the attitude toward mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
It was
So after he's talking to the therapist, it shows him getting ready to do his like clown job, and he does different jobs, but he does them all as a clown. And this first one we see him as is a sign spinner,
Sign twirler, yep.
and for no reason,
Yep.
these guys come up and beat the crap out of him
Yep.
and steal his sign.
Yep.
And that's like how we're introduced to him and the struggles he goes
Yeah.
through. He's, like you said, he's on medication. He has a condition that makes him laugh,
Yeah.
like for like no reason. A lot of times it's like he's
BPA.
nervous. Like he'll be nervous and just start laughing, or uncomfortable and start laughing. But
Yeah.
it's so bad to where like it hurts him,
Yeah.
and he feels physical pain, and like that's why like when he's got the makeup on and he's laughing, but you see a tear come down his face.
Fun fact, when that happened, that was not planned. It just because of how Joaquin Phoenix was acting.
Yeah, he was very much method acting.
Yeah, the tear was real, and they kept it in. They held it because it was like, wow, that's an interesting idea.
And it looked good.
Yeah.
So Zoe, you can correct me. I wrote down what I thought this is called. It's a pseudobulbar effect. Did I get it right?
I'm glad that you can say it because that's why I just said BPA because I'm like, I can't say that
So
word.
the definition I wrote down is uncontrollable episodes of crying, laughing, anger, or other emotional displays caused by a severe brain injury, like head trauma.
Which he did have.
Yes.
Right.
We find out
We find
later.
that out later as well, and we got a lot of movie to go through.
Well, I just hold on.
Okay, holding on.
We got to go back because
'Kay.
what was in his journal?
Oh, what was the quote? Because it comes up a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope my death makes more sense than my life. And to me, that was the counselor in that situation. That was like to me his first attempt of like, I need help.
Yeah, it's a cry out for help.
And she's just like blows that over and on to the next
She's
question.
not a good counselor.
No.
And he
No,
points that out
said
later.
I said that out loud. I heard a kinder counter argument to that, saying it's not that she may have been good before, but she's very burned out in her
Oh,
position.
totally. Yes.
She probably has a huge caseload. She's probably trying to juggle, 50 plus people who come through her office every day. We're talking late 80s New York. Like they're
And
not.
look at her office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing soothing about that place.
There's
Yeah,
no
it's
there's
dark.
exactly, Phil. It's dark, it's dingy, it's busy.
Where's your plants, lady?
Yeah. There you go. There's
No comfy couches.
Yeah. Where's the pillows?
No coffee table.
How dare
You
you?
got files everywhere.
Get on Etsy, ma'am.
I just wanted to bring that up because it does come up multiple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it sets the tone from the movie like right away.
Yeah.
I wonder. I'm gonna get personal here. I'm gonna tell Aaron something that he doesn't even know. So there was a time that I went to counseling in it was like 2000, 99, 2000, and I have gone to a counselor since, like in the recent years, and the way those offices looked, that's a 20-year difference. That's a drastic change. Like I remember back when I was a teenager I think I was sitting in like an office chair in front of a desk.
Yeah.
And when I went recently, I was on a couch with the pillows and the plants. So that's very different.
Very different. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's not that desk between you. It's like an actual connection.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I wondered if that's a reflection of the times,
Oh, totally.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens next? He gets
he
his
kind of has. He goes home.
gets his meds. Does he get? Is this when he goes to the pharmacy to get his meds, and then goes home?
Yes. Gets his meds. He goes home. He's like
Yep.
feeding his mom.
Yep.
By the way, the score of this movie, it won an Oscar. Female composed it, and I wrote this down too. She is the first woman to win as a solo composer in the category that she won in.
That's awesome.
Oh, we love
I
that.
know.
Yep.
Okay, moving on.
Yep. So then he comes home.
And we meet his mom, who we can tell is like
Yeah, not well.
she's not well.
Also,
Yeah.
fun fact: she's on American Horror Story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was an actress that was going to actually play the mom, and I don't remember who it was now because my memory. I only glanced on it on IMDb. I'll find.
I'll see.
I'll look and then I'll get back
Okay.
to you. So
They're watching their favorite show, which is
And
the.
we find out that she's the favorite show, but before that she's talking about how she's been writing letters to
Thomas
Thomas.
Wayne.
Thomas
Okay,
Wayne.
so let's talk about Thomas Wayne for a second. We're going to jump around, but this, I don't get passionate about much, but don't mess with my Batman mythology. Okay? Now, here's the deal. I am a Batman stan. Like I love Batman because he's not a superhero. He has no powers.
Right.
Everything he does is his own abilities, his own learning. I mean, yes, he has millions of dollars, whatever, but he does everything himself. He learns. He is called the Great Detective in the span of the comics. They call him the Great because he is that good at searching out clues and figuring things out. And his father, for the most part, with few exceptions, has been portrayed as a nice man, a good man, an inspiring man, a man who cares about the city.
And in this movie, he's kind of a jerk.
He is an absolute heel. He is just
he calls all the citizens clowns.
Yeah.
And like,
But I'm your only hope.
Yeah. So also another way that when the movie starts off, we find out like there's a garbage strike.
Yep.
So
and the trash is piling up.
Yep. And people are getting fed up with it, and that's why crime is on the rise. And he's like the mayor or something, and he's just not doing anything about it.
Yep.
Well, he's about to be running for mayor.
He's running for mayor. Yeah, whoever the current mayor isn't doing a good job.
Yeah.
And is so here's the thing, right? And it talks about this in the notes on IMDb about how like they portrayed Thomas Wayne as like not a great guy and not very inspiring. And in some ways I get it because you need the movie for its plot. It needs to be able to have the argument of we need to kill the rich, soak the rich, which is to be clear, a dumb thing. You don't like that's just there's no way I support any of the things that happen in this movie.
Kind of reminds me of communism, actually.
Yeah,
think about how they went after the Tsars in Russia.
Yeah, so it's a dumb idea. But what the movie does is they use Bruce Wayne as kind of like this is why they want to do this. This is why the fomenting of rebellion is happening in the city streets because Thomas Wayne is an absolute heel. He's a jerk. He is a whatever word you want to come up with. He is that way, and that goes against what I feel is a part of the Thomas Wayne mythos as far back as like Batman the Animated Series, the Batman movies. Like we've seen him as a caring husband, a caring father, and that is a part of that. And so for them, the notes in IMDb suggested that it's a recent phenomenon in other Batman properties. And it's like, why do we do this? Why do? Why nobody like?
It sets it up for a good Batman versus Joker, but just saying.
It felt like it wasn't this one of the few times in this movie it wasn't earned because it's not.
I think in a way it makes his death earned.
Yeah, but okay. So to that point, that flips the whole mythos of Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne's death in the original mythos, in the original series, in the original movies
was by a mugger. Right?
Was by a random dude,
Joe Chill, I think,
out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like just it was a horrible crime. It was innocence lost. He didn't deserve it. There was no reason for that, and that's why for Bruce Wayne, why it hit so hard is his father tried to save his mom, and she wouldn't give up her pearls, and this man killed them. Like,
well, he does pull her pearls off.
He does in this movie, yeah.
And it is kind of, I mean, I know there's a riot going on, but it is a little low-key random.
Yeah, it is. It's really dumb.
I mean, they're going through an alley.
Yeah. It's like, no, get in the car. You have. Where's Alfred? Like, what is going on here?
Hello.
So again, it feels like, okay, well, we gotta have the scene because, and it's hilarious. It's a stereotype now. For every Batman origin moment where you see Martha Wayne and Thomas Wayne, and he gets shot, and then she like gets shot, the guy grabs or the pearls bounce on the floor, and you get this whole like vibe. So
and then there's little Batman.
Yeah, and little Thomas Wayne, and
little Bruce.
Yeah, it offends the Batman sensibilities that I have, and it pushes all the wrong buttons. And that was that moment where I was just like, "Are you like pick another bad guy? Pick the current mayor, make him out to be the bad guy, and make Thomas Wayne like a latecomer to the election and whatever." Like, but they used him in a way that it felt cheap. It felt like, okay, well, we got to have a bad guy. Oh, let's just use Thomas Wayne. What is wrong with you? Like, that's just, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite moment, and it made me angry.
Well, and it was at the end.
Yeah, and I think that's what made it worse for me.
Okay.
Is it's like this movie's just piling on, and then it's like, oh, ha ha ha, you remember Thomas Wayne? Oh, guess what? He deserves it. We're gonna shoot him, and you're gonna be okay with it. No,
They even said like you get what you deserve before shooting him.
yeah. I just and that's a common theme throughout this
Well,
movie.
they quoted what the Joker said.
Yeah, and so again, it's feelings, a lot of feelings. Anyway, so let's go back to where we were.
So back to Arthur. He's
Yep.
not the Joker yet.
Nope.
But he is. He's
a clown.
watching. He's watching his
Murray.
Murray.
Or Murray, as he says
Murray.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the talk show
Yep.
comedian host.
Robert De Niro
guy,
in
yeah.
a really good role.
He does really
Yeah,
well.
He does. He does
Wow.
good.
But
And
anyway, this is his first delusion that he has.
Yep. Yeah.
Where he's like on the show meeting
yeah,
him,
and
getting
he's
to be
talking
in front
to
of
him, and
everybody.
he's-
To me, it wasn't clear that was a delusion. I thought it was like a daydream.
It's not meant to be. Just like his other delusions he has.
You're
It's-
kind of supposed to question
you
everything.
You find out.
Well, after
you
later
find
the
out
film,
like
yeah.
whenever he finds out himself. When
Yeah.
he's like, oh, when he hits that realization.
I feel like the delusion scenes are like over campy and a little bit more colorful than the rest.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Like there's like a little haze over him. a
Yeah,
little bit.
and then there's just like this grandiose kind of like vibe.
I feel like some stuff doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like why would why would he be talking to you like specifically in the crowd and like
Yeah.
All the
I
other
don't
noise
know.
fades out.
yeah.
So then she's asking about the letters to Thomas Wayne. Is he sending them?
Yeah, because she's asking for help
yeah,
because
for money.
their building is raggedy.
Yeah.
They need help to fix their building, and
Yep.
that's when is this when he gets in the elevator and he meets the neighbor?
It's close.
Close. Cuz there's another I think it kind of goes to another thing after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when that happens, they're talking about how the building needs work and needs
Yeah.
repair, and she does something very weird. She does like the finger gun things to her head, and I was like, that's odd.
Yeah.
And
Like-
then it's like a recurring theme too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's next?
Well, they go in and meet the coworkers too.
Yes.
Yep. We
Which those are
I liked Randall at first.
You think he's going to be a good guy?
You think he is,
Yeah.
and then
Is this when he gives them the bag?
No, not yet. But I think this is kind of somewhere he's explaining like how his mom taught him like growing up, like you always got to put a smile on and
Yeah.
Right.
be happy. Like you
Yeah.
can't show like anything else besides that.
Yeah.
And she even like refers to him as happy a couple of times.
She
Like,
calls him Happy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as a nickname, which is interesting. Mom, like when we get to the last third of this movie, all the strings, like the ride becomes erratic. Like the lazy river is no longer lazy. We are running at the speed of light, and it is jarring. Like we are on a tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah,
and
we find out a lot of
yeah,
stuff.
a
Yep.
lot of stuff. We suspected for a long time something was wrong, but it definitely.
like you tell Mama's off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mom's got some stuff. All right, so where are we at next? So we meet the clowns at the Randalls. They tell him he's got to go get the sign.
Oh yeah, he's like, if you don't bring the sign back, you're fired. And it's like,
Why
he's
would
like,
he
why?
take the sign?
He even says like, why would I keep the
And he's
sign?
like, I don't know. People do things for stupid reasons. I'm like, you're not even trying.
Like
And then he has a breakdown in the alley, starts kicking the crap out of a dumpster.
Yeah, because he's got.
So we can see like he this man he's troubled.
But what did he
He's got
do
some
before that? He was smiling at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was staring at the like so while he's getting like chewed out by the boss.
he
we
kind of
get-
fades into his own world.
We get a shot of Joaquin Phoenix just staring at him, and the boss's voice slowly goes away. We can't hear him anymore, and Joaquin was just staring at him and like smiling, got this
yeah,
like cynical look on his face.
And I would think of that as like kind of disassociating like in
Yeah.
the moment.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's just too hard.
Yeah.
It's a way of protecting yourself.
yep.
Yeah.
All right, where do we go next?
I wrote here something. He wants to be a stand-up comedian, like that's his like thing. And I wrote
But he's not funny.
most of the happiest people have the most trauma and darkness. So like he wants to bring all this joy and happiness to the world, but he has all this darkness
Yeah.
inside that he doesn't know like what to do with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
he's-
written down that that's one of his delusions, that he thinks he can do stand-up comedy and just like crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's definitely not funny.
No, he's terrible at telling.
Maybe
jokes.
for some like dark humor, but later
right down.
he
the
does
road.
get better, I guess, a little bit.
In his own way.
better as a sliding scale when it comes to the Joker.
His jokes go over better.
Yeah.
people
I don't think
appreciate them more. No,
No.
We'll just nod
He
and smile
finds
our way
his
through
tribe.
At least he's not as nervous. He has like a little bit more confidence.
But I think that's because he breaks.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
there-
full blown
Oh, yeah,
manic.
he's full blown.
He loses it, and there's a pre and a post moment for him where you feel like it's his confidence and he's actually able to function, but he is malfunctioning every which way, but loose.
And so like for this beginning part of the movie, we're seeing the world beat the crap out of him over and over and
Literally
over.
and figuratively.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, where are we at next?
So his coworker Randall does give him a gun. He's like, "This is going to protect you
Yeah.
from like the people stealing your signs."
And
all
he
these
tells
things.
her, he says, I'm not supposed to have
Yeah,
a
because
gun.
honestly, people with mental illness are not supposed to have guns
Yeah.
for really good reasons for their safety
Yeah.
and other people's
But
safety.
then Randall's like, just take it, you'll owe me one down the road.
So I wrote down he's a big enabler. He
Yep.
obviously does not care about his well-being
no.
or anyone else's well-being.
Giving your gun to a madman. That's
I actually did wonder. Part of me that was like, is that a murder weapon? Why are you giving him a gun?
Right.
Where did that gun come from?
Right, is it illegal?
What's the connection from? Like, how's this going to work?
Just like in a plastic bag. Obviously, you're trying to hide it. You know.
Yep. And so then Happy, or the Joker, or whatever we're calling it, Frank, what is his
Arthur.
name? Arthur.
Art.
Artie, how you doing? Artie goes home with the gun and is playing with it. Yeah. And shoots a hole in the wall.
Sorry, Mom, I'm just watching a war movie.
Yeah, I'm just watching him, and he turns it up, and it's like,
I'm sorry.
it's. Here's the thing. Normally, I'd be like, okay, that's the dumbest thing you could do. Why didn't you check? But he's obviously not well, and he probably didn't think to check it because he's never handled a gun
Probably ever.
ever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's he keeps clicking it, and then he
Just thought he didn't shoot anybody.
yeah, he shoots a hole in the thing, and he makes an excuse, and he freaks out because now he thinks he's in trouble and all
Right.
that stuff, and I was just like, oh dear. All right, so that happens, and then what happens next?
So I wrote this down, so maybe you can tell me what the scene was, but I put, be careful what you say and do around people you don't know what others are going through.
Oh, could that be on the bus when he's making the faces at
Maybe.
the kid? I felt really bad for him in this.
Oh
scene.
yeah, because okay, so he's like making these faces at a kid and his mom in the seat in front of him, trying to make the kid laugh.
Yeah.
And the mom like gets angry and turns around and she's like, leave my kid alone. And so he starts just laughing. She's like, what's going on with you? And this is when we find out like it's a condition. He pulls out a card
Yeah.
that says, I have a condition, and it just explains everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's why you said
I feel like there was a deeper one where something happened. Like he like almost fights back in a way or something, but I don't know. I just feel like you should always treat everyone with kindness because you really don't know what they're going through, and they could just pop off and
do something.
bad.
This wasn't when he like followed the neighbor.
Maybe it was following the neighbor,
which I also thought was weird. I'm like, why is he following?
which I also think was a delusion because
It had to be.
The
No one
whole
reacts to
neighbor-
being followed. That well.
yeah.
all the neighbor scenes are a delusion except the last one.
Yep. When he actually invades her house and sits on the chair.
And she's like,
Do you
what
think
are
the
you doing?
elevator was a delusion
And
too?
Yes, all of it is. Because when he comes in, she's like, why are you in my house? And that's when she's like, you're my neighbor, right? But I will say, to her credit, she treats him like a human. She's like, are you okay? Do you need me to call your mom?
yeah.
And he leaves the apartment. I don't think it's implied that he like hurt her or anything, but he
So
So there was a
leaves.
big discussion on your
We don't
thing
know.
about that. Like,
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Well, we do. So I read the notes on IMDb,
Okay.
and they said they know that it looks questionable, but they said no, she survives.
Yeah, I
Thank
didn't
God.
He
think.
doesn't kill her.
Well, because
I
he
didn't
lets
think
that other coworker go.
Yeah.
So I,
Yeah, we'll
That's
get,
a
we'll,
theory,
we'll get
yeah.
to
We're
that.
not there yet.
We'll
He
get to
hasn't
that-
hurt
I know.
anyone
We'll get
yet.
to that fun scene.
he has not hurt anyone yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yet being the key
he
word.
is still getting bullied.
Yep.
But next, there's like kind of the scene where he's writing in his journal again, and he put, people expect you to behave as if you don't have a mental illness. And that like cut me
Yeah.
yeah.
really deep. Because
Yeah.
he's like trying to put on this happy face, and no one's going to see like
Yeah.
my
Act like
sadness.
everybody's normal.
Yeah. It's just,
Well, and there's a lot of conversation in this movie thematic wise about the 80s about mental health and how it was treated, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't handled well.
No.
And to your point, you talked about how you in the 2000s were in a psychiatrist's office, and then 2022 you were like, it was a night and day difference, and that's 20 years separation. You think 20 years before it was bad. It was a crapshoot. You didn't know what you were getting. And so a lot of this is viewed through the lens of time and of like, this was bad. And, part of me just wanted to be like, no, it wasn't that bad. But the other part of me is like, no, I mean, I was born in the 80s, so I didn't live that life, but I've done enough of my research to know, mental health was not, it was definitely judged.
Very taboo.
And it was not talked about. And there were people who were put in insane asylums, and like, that was just the path. Like
Yeah. And if you tried to talk about it, they made fun of you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it just shows how big it was because, I mean, look how big that state hospital was.
Yeah.
Like with all those people locked up in there.
It was huge. Yep.
So now are we at the part where he is at
He gets
the
fired.
hospital? Yeah. So
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we get to this.
This one.
when this happened, I was
This-
like, oh no.
This pushed the red button. I said no on a train to Noteville. The only excuse I can say is that because I think at this point, is he off his meds by now, or is he still on them?
He's
still on them.
He's still on them. How?
They don't work though. He asked when he was first at the therapist. He's like, "Can you up my meds?" And she's like, "You're already on 7."
Like what?
Something should
Which
be
is
working,
sad.
but they're clearly not working.
But that's a deeper sign.
Another attempt for help. Like, I need help. Why aren't you helping me?
And the part of it is that we find out down the road that he had a traumatic brain injury,
Right.
which is the root of a lot of these issues.
Totally.
Yeah.
But because that's not a part of the dynamic of the conversation, because he's not knowledgeable of that, he doesn't know until later. And even in the 80s, I don't think they would have treated it. I think they would have just been like, well, you just need to figure your stuff out and walk it off.
Well, like there were some medications for things, but it was things we would know better. Like, let's not give him that today.
Yeah.
So why was he fired for what, Zoe? What
He
did
had
this
a
man
gun.
do?
So the scene, back
I
to
love the
this
way it
red
happens.
button scene. I know that this is just me being like idealistic. In what world would you go into the children's ward of a hospital with a gun on your person just because? There is no rational or irrational explanation for this. And it infuriates me because it suggests that this dude is an idiot. Not just an idiot, he's the dumbest person alive. No reason for you to go, let me go work at the hospital. I'm going to bring a gun. Ho, 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 ho.
Well, he's mentally
The
ill.
Miss Piggy gif.
Yeah,
of hitting-
he's
hitting
paranoid.
The table.
Yeah, he's had
honestly-
this awful thing happen to him, and I mean, clearly he's crazy.
He
Yeah,
acts so surprised, like he didn't even know it was on him.
He,
Like, when
he
it
forgot.
falls out-
Yeah.
When it falls out, it genuinely made me laugh because he just stops for a minute and he's like, "Oh!" and
No,
Like, oh no, I
And then-
forgot that was there.
and then it just cuts to him like fired.
Or then he's like, "Hey guys, don't tell anybody about this." And I'm like, "Good
He's
luck
like-
with that with kids."
He's like, it was a prop. It was a prop gun. It's part of my act now.
You don't bring a prop gun into a children's ward.
No.
And then I don't know if you guys picked up on this, like for having a TBI, how much he also hits his head on it.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
he
no, he broke the glass. I'm like, and I was looking at his like, how do you not have a concussion from that?
He just keeps banging his head on
Yep.
everything.
Which at
Stop
this point, we still haven't even learned that he has
No.
a TBI.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
just like,
Traumatic brain injury. For
And
those
that's
who,
another thing about that card. It's not specific at all. It's so at the 80s. Just like, I have a condition. Doesn't go into any of the details.
Yeah.
Okay, so the stupid scene with the gun in the children's ward that I still just didn't disbelieve about.
And then he gets on the subway, and I
On the
think this is the turning point in the movie.
100%.
It starts it, but I
Yep.
will say, this scene it was self-defense
Yeah.
because
I mean, they're beating him
they,
up.
They so he's on the subway. There's these 3 Wall Street guys that I guess work for Bruce or not Bruce, but
Thomas.
Thomas.
No, they do
Wayne
work for him.
Enterprises.
They worked for Wayne Enterprises.
They work for Wayne Enterprises, and they're drunk. They're being rude to this lady.
Yeah.
And it makes Art feel really uncomfortable as he's watching it.
So he starts to
he
laugh.
starts to do his laugh thing,
Yeah.
and which
You can tell he wants to like stop laughing. Like,
is good because it distracts them from messing with
Right.
the lady.
So she gets
Yeah.
up, she moves down to the next car.
and then they come up and they start harassing him, and they take his bag and throw it, and
Yeah.
I think they start kicking him too.
stomping him on the ground.
Yep.
And then while he's on the ground, he rolls over and shoots 2 of them right there on the subway.
Yep.
Hits another one in the butt cheek.
Yep.
Which
Which
he's
I thought-
holding it. I
So
was
so he's like. So he's like running away, and this is the part where it's not self-defense,
Right.
Where he
Yeah.
might be.
This is where it
turning.
crosses the line.
yeah,
He chases that man down
And shoots on the stairs.
Yep.
like make sure he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like empties it,
Yep. And then he runs because he's in a panic because he's just
and
committed.
then he dances.
Yeah.
Yeah, you close the door to the bathroom and you're like, it's gonna hyperventilate. What's going on? And then he just starts to kind of move to the music, and I looked at Aaron and I was like, I think we've just seen the birth of the Joker.
It's starting.
So in IMDb notes, that
It's
wasn't planned.
improvised.
It's improvised. So Joaquin Phoenix improvised that scene, which then it becomes a theme throughout the movie.
Which
but-
I think fits well.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely it's a beautiful, I hate to say it, but it's a beautiful scene because it definitely shows the transformation and the beginning of the transformation of where this is going to end up. We now know that the old is gone and the new is here, and whoever this new creation is, we're going to have to get used to him because he's here to stay.
I'm just going to throw this out there, and I could be totally wrong.
You're probably not.
So I'm really kind of into like somatic therapy, which is like how your emotions kind of like affect your body.
Or manifest,
Or
whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
So like in a way I thought of that as him like processing
Right.
like what happened, and then now he's like becoming this new
Yeah.
person.
Transformation
Yeah.
kind of into this new thing.
Yeah, I interpret it as it felt, and this is disturbing to say, but if it's his character, he felt freed up.
Yeah.
Like he felt
Now I'm
like
free.
it was like a release.
So at this point, he stops taking his meds. That life is over now.
Well,
And he runs.
he also like before that, like he's at the house and he's watching TV with his mother, and they got it on the news where they're talking about the 3 guys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
and he's
yeah.
like starts laughing. His mom's like, "That's not funny."
yeah.
And I think he says something there that's quote maybe maybe
Well, you
don't have it
totally
written down.
skipped over his delusion after the dancing, where he goes and kisses the neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the
I was like,
clown
whoa.
makeup.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, where did that come from?
So I had actually read ahead, and I like knew that she wasn't actually there, or I'd like seen something, and so in my head I'm watching this, and I'm like, there's no woman
Yeah.
who sees a guy in clown makeup and is like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm into this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems very odd too until it's explained later that
Yeah.
she wasn't really there.
So that's another. It's a weird one. But again, the movie does it well enough that you don't know or suspect it, and it hides it well. So
does.
it does that pretty well. All right. So what happens next?
This is the
this when
scene
he's-
where the counselor is gonna have to tell him that there are budget cuts, and he
Her office is closing.
Won't even transfer him to another counselor.
And
There's
no
no
more
way for her to
meds.
get medication. Just so irresponsible. Can't even.
And he tells her, he's like, "I don't think you even listen
he's
to
like,
me."
you don't listen to me. You
He's
ask
like,
me
I
the
have-
same question.
He's like, "I have never been happy a day of my life."
all I have are negative thoughts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I tell you this every time I'm here, and you don't help me.
Yeah.
And my whole life.
And then she's like,
yeah.
well, that. And then she tells him that her program is being shut down.
Yeah.
Which she makes it out like that's Thomas Wayne's fault.
Well, she says, no one cares about me and no one cares about you. And it's like,
Which-
she's just as bitter as
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is.
And that goes back to your point about counselors are burnout too. Like,
yeah.
we're trying to help the best we can, and
Yeah.
sometimes
Well,
doesn't
it's kind of an
work
interesting
out.
kind of like parallel to what's been happening in like the last 5-10 years here locally in Colorado, and even in like a big town in a big metro area like Denver. They closed down multiple like treatment centers, like day treatment centers and whatever. They closed down the psych ward at University of Colorado Hospital early on when I was working there back in the day as a housekeeping supervisor, and that was a need. Like it was constantly full.
Yeah.
And then so the funding got cut, and they started cutting services, and so the mental illness situation has not been addressed by any kind of like program and so it's interesting how, we talk about how things come back based upon how we treat it and how we fund it, and the danger is if you don't have the funding or the treatment centers or the capacity for counselors who are able to provide services, you got people who are acting out mentally ill. Like it's just a cascade effect. Like it's gonna only get worse.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really interesting. and heartbreaking that we are repeating those same errors. At least my impression in Colorado. I'm sure in other states it's the same story.
Well, like in California on Skid Row, where they kicked out all the people from the mental hospital, and now they're all homeless on one street.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just so sad.
It's awful.
Yep.
I do want to make sure we have these statistics before we keep going, especially for anybody listening in. Number one, 95% of violent crimes in our country are not performed by the mentally ill. They're performed by the non-mentally ill. And then the second one, people with mental illness are 10 times as likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators.
Totally.
Yep.
Just to make that clear.
Which this movie shows that. Like, he's bullied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And his childhood, as we
Yeah,
learn later,
we're
sucks.
we're gonna get to that because sweet baby Moses.
Well, yeah.
All right, what's next?
I think this is when he does his stand-up, his first stand-up.
That's
Yeah.
what I have
Which
too.
is also part of a delusion.
Because, yeah, she's
Like
not really
he
there.
does do the stand up,
Right.
And he bombs. You find out like nobody's laughing, but
Yeah.
for him, like he sees his neighbor in the corner cheering him on, and he thinks he did a good job.
And he didn't.
But the way he comes out on stage and he's just laughing.
Yeah.
He's like ah ha ha ha, and what was that
Yeah, it
joke?
hurts.
He's like, someone asked me when I was a kid. They asked me what, like, I would have to work.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna be a stand-up comedian, and he thought that was like
But,
the funniest thing.
And they laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
Yeah, no one's laughing.
And no
now.
one is laughing. No one's laughing
It's
at
the
that joke.
irony of it.
And I wrote
Yeah,
like
and more-
laughing in pain because it sounded like he was literally in pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that condition does.
Yeah.
It's like
not
laughing and
pleasant.
crying at the same time.
Well, and also, fun fact, Todd Phillips actually wanted him to have a laugh that kind of sounded painful. So that's kind of like what he was going for.
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, he kept grabbing
Which he had
his
to watch
throat.
apparently a bunch of videos, like people that actually have this
He
disorder.
said it was the hardest thing with
Yeah.
this role is getting that laugh right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, on a slight tangent, have you guys ever had the experience of laughing and crying at the same time?
Yes.
Yep, I have. And Aaron has witnesses and managed not to laugh is with the eggs.
Okay, what's next?
You laugh so you don't cry, right? I mean,
I was
I wrote that
literally,
down.
I was literally doing both. It was a weird, not a fun experience.
So after the stand-up, what's going on?
Oh, I just remember there's like this little picture of a newspaper, and it's like clown vigilante,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so people are starting to wear the clown mask and
Right.
like.
And is this after Thomas Wayne calls his people clowns? Is that why they're dressing them
Yes.
like clowns?
Yeah.
Because I think that was the connection.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, like I'm starting this whole movement now or
Right.
something.
So you call us clowns? Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you what a clown is. He gets home after this date that did not happen. He wakes his mom up to like get her to bed, and she's like, "You got to send this letter to Thomas. Like you have to."
And here's
he
where
reads it.
things start to unravel.
Yeah.
So and again, spoiler alert, if it's been a couple years, 2019's been a while.
Our subtitle for Nerds by Screenlight should just be spoiler.
Yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Every-
Please don't listen to our podcast with these movies if you haven't already
Yeah.
seen it.
Yes.
Fair warning. So he reads the letter, and we then begin. So we get. What it tries to do, and what it somewhat succeeds in, is to suggest that Thomas Wayne's illegitimate son is this dude. And the mom is like, your son, help us. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. What is going on here? And
When I first saw this movie, I was like, "No way!
Well,
He is the Batman's brother." Like,
I know.
In my head fair like cop here. I fast forwarded every couple of scenes because I was wholly uncomfortable with this movie. So there's
I can tell just how you're talking about it and how you're like reacting.
it's
He could
How
barely
was that
talk
for-
about it
how
afterwards.
was that for you, Vicky? Like,
she actually didn't stop me. She was okay with it.
But I wasn't as uncomfortable as
Yeah.
you were. I was like, I found it very thought provoking.
Yeah.
Like I found myself like researching after
It's
and be like, let's watch how
intriguing.
this person reacted to
Yeah.
this. And
So my reaction, though, because again I know my Batman, and I'm like, no, there's no way that Thomas Wayne's the part of him that was in the relationship, if there was a relationship, there's no way the Joker is a product of Thomas Wayne. There's just, it's
so-
But wouldn't
not
it make it such an interesting?
No, it would
this-
be a betrayal. It would be dumb. It would be stupid.
It would be
sad.
cliche. It would be
I would-
so
it
would be very
sad.
sad.
It would cliche, The cliche part was what I
This
was.
is the part of me where I'm like, I love Batman. I love Thomas Wayne and
Yeah.
that mythos. And so this is the point that I looked at Aaron and I said, I don't. It reminded me of what they did in the Robert Pattinson when they started to flirt with the idea that the parents were corrupt. And then
Yeah.
it turns out they weren't. It
Yeah.
reminded me of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this direction.
Yeah.
Well, it's like for those that know Batman, this immediately like tells
Yeah.
us that his mama is not all there.
Yeah, something's missing there. Well, and so then, I guess what's next after this? So he's mad at mom.
Mother has a stroke,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then he goes
While
to
he
see
wasn't
Thomas
while he
Wayne
wasn't there.
Yeah.
Some police officers came to question
Yeah.
about the subway killings.
about the killings
Yeah.
and got his mom really upset.
Yeah.
and she had a
So
stroke.
he comes home. She's getting loaded in the stretcher. He goes with the hospital. We get the delusion that the neighbor's there with him.
Well, those cops,
Yep.
by the way, going back slightly, the way they were questioning him, like at first they were professional, then they're fine, then they were like, what were they saying? Stuff like, oh, what's this condition that you have?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
was like, you.
And I love how Arthur's talking at this point. Like
Yeah.
he's starting to get like serious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's starting to like his fear of the world and everything is starting to
Yeah.
go away because the way he's talking to these people. I will say it's super funny whenever he goes to walk up and walk away
Oh,
from them.
no, and he walked into the thing.
Walked right into the exit door.
I felt bad
It's
for
exit
him.
only.
Yeah. It made me laugh. I did get a chuckle out of that moment.
So we are not laughing. No, or you're trying not to laugh.
Just like, really, that's what you're gonna laugh.
In the movie like this, you got to find the bright spots. There's not a lot for me.
There's another one we'll talk about. And we'll see if you feel the
Okay.
same
I
way.
do like so maybe it's just me like overthinking it, but like when he runs into the door and they tell him like it's exit only, and then the lady goes to walk out and the door opens and he goes in through it anyway.
I was cheering on him on the inside. I'm like, go
for
through
me
that
that
exit.
felt like
you
a-
tell him.
For me that felt like a sign of defiance.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
You're not gonna tell me what to do.
So then he
Yeah.
goes to visit the Wayne house.
yeah, and this
Now-
Oh, this is so weird.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about this. This movie, and I know why they built it this way, and I know that this was intentional. But in some ways, this movie wants you to like Arthur. But
it
it's-
is his movie.
Or at least
after
feel
all.
for him.
at least
Sympathize.
But this is the moment where any chance of me feeling for Arthur is gone.
Because you love Batman.
No, because you don't do what he's doing to this child.
Yeah, you don't grab
cro-
his face.
You don't cross this line and stalk the boy, and then like act in this fashion. You don't. That's not
It's not
acceptable.
appropriate.
It's not appropriate. It's not acceptable. It's no. And that's when I was like, nope, not cheering him on anymore. We're done. We're done here. And that's a hard no for me. Like the reason why I can't watch the Hunger Game movies is because it's kids killing kids. Can't do it. Can't watch, but maybe one of them.
But I mean, adults are making them do that.
Yes, but
Yeah.
Yes, I mean you're not. So here's the thing. I freely admit that it's a flawed argument of mine, right? But I also don't care because I'm not gonna watch it. Like I don't have a lot of hard lines in film than movies that I have to watch or deal with. But there's a hard line of like, no, I'm not gonna watch this happen. I'm sorry.
Which is interesting because I love those movies, love the books.
Me too.
Have even gotten into fan fiction with it, and then I put a halt on it because it was getting too dark.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned, I think it was through the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah.
He
Angry Joe.
no, Angry Video Game Nerd. AVGN.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay,
The original gamer YouTuber guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So he also reviews movies.
Yeah.
One of his favorite movies of all time is Ghostbusters.
Yes.
He loves those movies. And I forget which one of the sequels.
It was
like
no. It was
the-
2016. It was the all-female cast.
Yeah, he's
he
like-
said,
You
"I
watched this.
refuse."
He says, he's like, here's the thing. I'm not going to review this movie because I know I'm not going to like it.
"Yeah,
He's like, if I know I'm not going to enjoy something,
yeah,
I'm not going to force myself to.
right."
That's fair.
To watch it or put
Yeah.
myself through it. And I mean I get it. Like we on this podcast previously, we went through Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, and the 2016 version
Yeah.
and Afterlife.
Yeah.
So if you're curious to see how we stacked up with myself and James, one of the previous co-hosts, go back and listen. And Either you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. I don't know how you're gonna feel about it, but I can tell you, Ghostbusters 1 and 2 and the
Afterlife.
Afterlife are exceptional.
I could be wrong, but I think they're making another one.
Yes,
Yeah.
Afterlife is a sequel.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yep, it's a Frozen kind of
Frozen. I had you
Frozen
look it up
City,
the
I
other
think.
day.
I
That's what
know.
it's
I
called.
watched it.
The Frozen Fortress. Or
That's
something.
exciting.
ice. Yeah, so it's anyway. So to your point, yeah, there's
So yeah, that quote has stuck with me, and it has saved me a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
That is why I have not seen the Halo series, because
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to like it.
Right.
It's why I did not watch the Resident Evil series, because
Oh, yeah.
I know I wasn't going to like it.
yeah.
And yeah, so little advice, like if you know you're not going to like it, just don't
watch it.
Don't
Yeah.
put yourself to it.
And it's that it didn't escalate to that level with this movie. There's I can appreciate this movie from a film perspective and a story perspective. I can still not want to see it again, but I put myself through it because I put you guys through Pinocchio with Pauly Shore. So
I didn't bring
Wow,
it up.
he did it
I
on
didn't
his
bring it
own.
up. I didn't bring it up. I just wanted that to go on record. It wasn't me this time.
Hey,
That is growth, Aaron.
growth.
well,
Thank you. I'll take
well,
that.
there is another one that, and it's Zoe's opinion you ruined. And that is The Naked Gun. She also hated that one.
That's fair.
Yeah. And for understandable reasons.
She
Another.
she
Let's
almost
just say
said
80s.
Pinocchio was better than that movie.
We have it on tape.
Yeah,
still shocked.
it exists. All right, so where are we back to?
Where were we?
So this is where
Oh, Alfred
yeah,
comes up.
Alfred
and,
is like,
oh yeah.
Okay,
he
so
handles
here's
business.
another thing.
Okay, we both object to this. We agree.
Alfred, in every single representation, is like kung fu ninja, like British SI.
You can't bring him
Service.
down.
He is the best of the best. He's the way he's portrayed is like you're a wet noodle.
Honestly, I didn't recognize it was Alfred until I think you said something where I watched a commentary and I was like, that was Alfred?
Yeah,
Didn't recognize him.
Like, here's the thing: movie's got a movie, right? You gotta expose like the Joker's like darkness and his insidious and the changeover that's happening as the evil is taking over, but at the sacrifice of Alfred, former British special ops, has been his mythology. Dude is an expert at all the things.
and awesome.
And awesome, and he knows how to do things. There's a reason why the Waynes hired him as the butler to protect them and their son. Movie? No.
so
Yes.
Oh,
I think
boy.
this is where
the Joker Arthur multiple times is trying to make connections
Yes.
so that he almost in a way like having something to live for,
Yes.
right? So he's like, okay, this is my dad, right? Okay, let's go meet him.
Right.
Let's do the things. Oh, I have a little brother.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And I know, yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's just
I think
he
it
is
was
looking for that connection, that love, that family that he's like really wanting.
I think it was a choice probably to like keep the movie from going too far into like this is a comic book movie.
Right. But at the expense of a pretty standard mythological piece to that character. Again, it is what it is. But I think so. Has he gone to see his?
That's next.
Not,
Okay.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. Okay. So then he
They're
runs
like in a
away.
theater or something.
Like just he almost kills like the butler.
And then he looks at Bruce, and that's what stops him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then he runs away. And then is it that evening she finds a way to get to
Yeah, they're like in a theater or opera or like
Yep.
some kind of.
Yeah, he's a custodian.
he
Well, he
goes-
fakes being.
Yeah.
he fakes that, and then he confronts Bruce Wayne
In the
in the
bathroom.
bathroom.
And Bruce tells him, he's like, no, I'm not your dad. Your mom's crazy.
Yeah.
She was at this hospital.
Yep. And you were adopted, and a lot of things.
And then punches him in the nose.
Yeah. So Bruce, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thomas Wayne doesn't look-
not a stellar performance of the Thomas Wayne. I do appreciate that the Joker character. What is his name again?
Arthur.
Arthur. Thank you. I do appreciate that when confronted, Arthur loses it because
Yeah.
his entire world is now being rocked, and he refuses to admit and accept whatever this truth is from Thomas Wayne. Number one, he doesn't trust the rich people, and number two, he hates Bruce Wayne and probably wants to kill him. But he also doesn't want to. But the problem is that what what Thomas Wayne is saying has an element of truth to it. It starts to make sense, but it's not to his favor. It's to his detriment, and so he ends up losing it, and obviously gets punched. And
We
Yeah.
did skip over where Moray found the
he's making
tape
fun
of his performance, his
Yeah,
live performance,
Murray
and
found the tape, put it on
completely
the show.
roasted him. He's like,
Oh,
this
it's
guy.
the worst.
Yeah.
And that's when the name comes. He's like, this Joker here, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
Which at this point, he's still not the Joker.
Nope.
Not
Joker
yet.
Not yet.
Not full blown.
So he then,
Goes to the hospital to confirm this.
and
Which I thought was really smart of him.
Yeah.
Well, no. Before he goes to his house
yeah.
and he gets a call from the Maury show. And
No, honey,
Not
you're
yet, not yet,
skipping
not
like
yet.
way ahead.
oh, okay.
This
Go
is where
ahead.
he goes and he's having that conversation with the guy at the hospital, and this is the first time that he actually says kind of like what he did on the subway.
Yeah,
he,
Low-key.
he's
basically-
like-
he kind of
Yeah.
confesses to the
He's
crime.
like, last
And you
time.
could kind of see the guy like, this is not.
And this would be
This
like
is not my pay grade.
his
What
like
do I do?
third attempt at like kind of being like, I need help, and
Yeah,
the guy's
he's
like, yeah, you need to see someone. He's like, well, they cut the budget.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he goes, yeah, last time I was dealing with something, I took it out on some people.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he says something about like, well,
I
you
thought
need
I
to-
would feel bad, but I don't. That's
Yeah,
what he
that,
does
yeah,
say
he
that.
says that, and the guy that's in charge of the files or whatever, he does tell him like, you know, you can see somebody, there's programs, and he's like, no, they cut them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did it.
And then, so he starts reading
Yeah.
off his mom's file to him.
And then he realizes who he's talking to as he's reading it, and he says,
You
she's
can't,
got-
you
yeah.
can't have this. You need to get your mom to come sign.
And I knew it was coming. I knew he was going to grab it. I was
Oh,
like, he's
of
going to
course.
grab it. It's going to happen. And he gets
slams
it.
his head on the wall
Again.
Yeah.
to get it away.
Stop giving yourself concussions.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
So then he takes off, runs down the stairs, and everything is true.
Yeah.
He was abused as a child.
He was adopted.
adopted by mom. One interesting note, when I was reading through IMDb, if you freeze frame on her file, mom had a lobotomy.
That would explain a lot.
I when we were watching this, I thought about maybe like pausing to read more, but I didn't.
Yeah, no. One of the
I wish I did.
one of the things he reads, if you freeze frame it, because it goes really quick.
So sad.
And to be so, for those of you who are listening at home and you're just like, what? So for a long time, maybe I don't know if I could if it was recent as the 80s, if this was the case, but up until 40s, 50s, and Zoe,
60s, I think.
Zoe, you can probably help me out with this. Into the 60s, because I want to say either one of the Kennedy sisters or one of the Queen's family had a lobotomy.
Oh God.
Because actually, I'm gonna check.
I don't
that.
know that part.
So well,
I think.
I think it's one of the Kennedy sisters. Hold on a second. So lobotomies were done. Kennedy
For anything, really.
sister,
And it's so sad because they're basically like a
got a
vegetable
headache?
after that.
You got a headache? Have a
So
lobotomy.
here we go. Kennedy Sr. Rosemary Kennedy experienced seizures and violent mood swings. In response to these issues, her father arranged a prefrontal lobotomy on her in 1941 when she was 23 years of age. Her procedure left her permanently incapacitated and rendered her unable to speak
Brain's
intelligently.
not even fully developed yet.
Yeah,
That's horrifying.
in 1941.
And unfortunately, it was usually women and young women.
Yep. So it happened well into probably the 60s, maybe 70s, and
I mean, they still do electric shock therapy.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the idea behind a lobotomy is that you go in and you actually cut parts of the brain apart and remove parts or like cut through the things that hold your brain together and connect it. And so the idea behind it was like, oh, we'll just release, we'll take yours out and it'll be fine and whatever. It's not. It was never successful. It never actually did any good. If you ever watch the movie Sucker Punch, there is a lobotomy scene.
Yeah.
And
I love that movie.
I can't watch that movie.
so here's the thing
I don't think I
here's
want
the thing
to.
about Sucker Punch, is it could have been so good, but it's like this movie. There's moments where you're just like, this was a bad choice, and you should rethink because it
I
doesn't.
just like the whole idea of like when they're dancing, they're fighting, and
Yeah, no, that's like
all the different.
Yeah,
it's
the concept is great,
I just love looking at it.
but the ending is terrible. The ending
Yeah.
is defeating, and this is the thing, and we'll get back in the movie that we're actually supposed to be talking about for a second. But with Sucker Punch, it had such potential. It had some of the really great actresses, really great like stylistic choices. It looked like the trailer sold us on a really cool adventure. And then we get into it and we start to find out just what is happening, and it's infuriating. It makes you so angry by the end that, at least for me, I left that movie going, what was the point of this? There's no win here. Unhappy endings or sad endings are a thing, but you presented me with hope. and then you threw me down the stairs, and you did like, what is wrong with you, movie?
That movie is probably my line. I can never watch that movie again.
Yeah, and it's because it has so much potential, right?
Yeah.
You think about all the cool dances and all the cool battle scenes and all the cool things that happened in that movie, and you're like, that's what you had in your hands, and you took the story and you did nope, gonna do something else and make the watcher, the viewer, just hate everything about what they just experienced. So I'm with Zoe on this one. I also love the art style. I love the idea,
Yeah.
but the execution is just like, what? But yeah, because in that movie she is lobotomized, I believe, at the end. And there's because they give you these moments of hope that that she's gonna get saved, and then no, it doesn't happen.
It just makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is rough. So if you're wanting to not watch a movie, choose Sucker Punch. Watch the trailer,
Yeah.
see what could have been, and just avoid it because it is not a movie that uplifts.
Thanks, I'll take that advice.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I haven't seen that movie in years. It's been at least probably 10 to 15 years, however when it came out. But I remember just coming out of that, either watching it online or watching it wherever, and I was just like, I'm angry. So we'll go back to what I'm not angry about, which is this movie. I'm just kind of unhappy with. So where are we at in?
So she is diagnosed with delusional psychosis
Yep.
and narcissistic personality disorder,
Yep.
and she was found guilty of endangering her own child. So her boyfriend was abusing.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Arthur.
they tied Arthur to a radiator and beat him in the head.
Yep.
And
so
that's when we learn, he's got brain trauma.
Yep.
Can we go back to the narcissistic personality disorder? Did you see indications of that in the mother's personality? Because I didn't feel like I did. I was a little surprised.
Here's
with
what
that
I think,
diagnosis.
though, to that point before Zoe answers. I think the lobotomy came after that because the narcissism probably was like
Maybe the reason.
when the
We
lobotomy.
see that in Arthur, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when the lobotomy occurs, that takes those things and just deadens
Okay.
them. Because she doesn't. And Zoe, correct me if I'm wrong. When what we see of her before we get to these scenes, she isn't narcissistic. She's kind of just a wet noodle.
Yeah.
Like she's like, oh, Thomas Wayne's gonna help us. He's gonna help us, and that's the extent of it. Now she does. She does say something, and I did laugh at this when he was talking to his mom about his dream of being
But you're not funny.
yeah, but
Or something.
No, she says, but don't you have to be funny to do that?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Mom's
Like,
got
mom's
jokes.
mean.
Mom, and
but also trying to bring it back to reality,
right.
maybe.
So I think the pieces of what she was diagnosed with, I think their fix, at least what I can remember reading the notes, was that was what they did. Because mom's pretty much just not functional throughout the entire movie. She just sits in her bed.
But it's
Yeah.
just so confusing because I don't know how she would have all those,
Those diagnoses.
like the memories and stuff. If she was lobotomized like that, like even the delusions, like still having those.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little
It is a little different. I agree. I
It's
don't.
movie magic.
Yeah. Plot
to
magic.
the point of like lying and being manipulative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she didn't
Okay.
tell him the full story,
Well,
even though it's not real.
So here's a theory.
I don't even feel like she gave him full answers.
Yeah.
So here's a theory then. So because we get a flashback in this scene where he's reading through the file, we see the doctor talking to her, and you see obviously he's sitting in the background as this is being narrated. Her delusion and her narcissism were very present in her believing that Thomas was whatever. But confronted with that, she's kind of like, oh, yeah. But I think the lobotomy severed any real doubt, and she just full on believes it now because the lobotomy cut off. And again, this is very much like movie magic explanation.
Right.
But in the context of the movie, that lobotomy cemented her belief that Thomas Wayne she did have a relationship with him, and the Joker is the result of that relationship, and she believes it without question that she's writing him letters. That's at least my perception.
Well, and then it's weird because there's that scene when after he reads the letter and he's like really angry at her and she like locks herself in the bathroom and she's like, I won't talk to you until you're like not angry.
Yeah.
Once we find out that he's been abused by this boyfriend or whatever, I'm like, is she remembering the trauma of being beaten by the boyfriend?
And retreating to the bathroom and all that.
Yeah. So
But
then
not,
that makes
but not really realizing what she's remembering
Right.
because she's, again, that lobotomy has affected her ability to remember clearly,
Right.
but there's still that instinctual, I have to
Yeah.
go hide. I
Right,
need
right,
to get
right.
away from him.
Yeah.
Because he says, I'm not mad at you, Mom. Like
Right.
he and maybe subconsciously or unconsciously, he's realizing, oh, she's afraid of me. I don't want her to be afraid of me. It's okay, Mom. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that takes care of that.
Well, now he is mad at her.
Yeah.
Oh, and he kills his mom.
Yeah. So, okay, where are we at? What's the next plot point from
But before that, he tries to go to his girlfriend's apartment because he's
Right.
just found out all this stuff.
Yeah. And she's
we
like,
find out.
why are you in my?
Yeah, you're
Just
you're in the wrong house. Like,
But in the nicest, most scared
yeah,
way.
She
It's
tries
just
to
like,
be kind.
"Hi."
I'm so proud of her for her de-escalation
Yeah.
technique.
Oh, she
Yes,
did great.
yeah.
She did wonderful.
Yeah.
So proud of her.
So then he goes back to his apartment and gets the call from Moray, right?
Right.
No.
When does that happen?
Later.
Later.
So does he climb into the fridge at this
Jesus.
point? Is this where he climbs in the fridge?
Oh yes, that's the scene I'm
Which
forgetting
is-
because you were even like, why is he getting in the fridge?
No, I
I only
thought
have
it
one
was
explanation
It
in my
was
head for that.
It was improvised. It was Joaquin Phoenix. Sorry, reading the notes.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix just improvised it. Like that wasn't actually on the script.
Okay, because that was some.
Yeah, he
confused.
just it was again a
Uh.
probably dissociative kind of thing of like
Yeah.
he pulled everything out of the fridge and gets in there and closes his door.
Is he trying to hide? Is he trying to hurt himself? Why?
Because I almost thought of it as self-harm. Like, why are you
Yeah.
gonna be in a cold refrigerator?
And my brain went even further into that dark direction. It's like, is
Or
he trying
like-
to like, you know?
Oh yeah. Or even
'Cause the
like,
cold.
did they used to do that to you? And like you're
Right.
retreating back to that
that-
like
yeah,
known
yeah.
thing.
There's some deep between the lines reading that can be done, which again, good movies and great movies do that.
Well-
They force you to go, ooh, there's a story here.
And I mean, don't they say with kids if they like hide under furniture, that's a sign of neglect?
Oh, totally.
So
yes.
that there's that
Yeah.
as well.
There's that element in. So again, this movie is really great at doing these things because we've talked about this before. There's the argument of showing versus telling. This movie is showing you, and then it's making you go, ooh, what's more to that?
Yeah.
What's the story here? But it doesn't give you that story. It lets you fill in those holes for yourself, and you go, okay, well, I have now created what I think is canon for this movie. Whether or not it's actually canon, but they don't tell, so you're able to make your own story up.
Right.
Okay, so what happens after the refrigerator?
He kills his mom.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he goes to
so-
the-
This is the second Joaquin Phoenix movie where he smothers his parent,
What was the other one?
the gladiator, with a
Oh.
dad.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I was realizing that today. I
Well,
was
and
like,
poor Joaquin Phoenix has his own life trauma that I think
Yeah.
that he definitely pulls on.
Yeah.
In these characters.
So in the IMDb notes, so Joaquin Phoenix, brother of River Phoenix, who died of a drug overdose in New York, like literally on the streets of New York. So in the notes, it talks about how Joaquin Phoenix as an actor refuses to do table reads. He'll do the memorization, and then he enters the scene cold. There's no he just goes. And apparently, Robert De Niro didn't like that.
Come on, De Niro.
So Robert De Niro was not happy about it because Robert De Niro is, of course, an acting legend, and he's like, "No, we do table reads. Like that's how we do. Like we gotta do this together." And so apparently, he made such a big deal out of it and whatever. So the reason why Joaquin Phoenix does that, according to IMDb, is he has significant anxiety. And things going on in his real life. Like he literally deals with a overwhelming amount of anxiety around his life and his situation. And so to combat that and to prevent the anxiety from spilling over and exploding, he has I read the script, I memorize, and we do the scene cold. We just do the scene because there is no there is just in the moment acting, and if we get it, we get it. If we got to reshoot it, reshoot it. But I'm not going to create a situation of anxiety of, am I going to do as good as I did at the table read? Or at the table read, am I doing it right or wrong versus what I've put in my head and I've internalized and I'm ready to do?
That makes sense because I read something about Todd being like, "Oh, that was your greatest laugh ever," and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that to him because now he's going to be like
He's
spiraling."
going to spiral. So you know Joaquin Phoenix, he's a complicated guy.
Yes.
He's got a lot going on. And I would argue that he is probably one of the greatest actors we've had in a while because of just how good he is, but on how unsettlingly wow.
unsettling.
Thank you.
welcome.
Unsettlingly good he is at it. And so that's like a lot of this movie is just going, okay, Joaquin's just ratcheting it up.
Well, and you and I are of the generation again where we have seen more than one Joker.
Yeah.
And when that film came out, Heath Ledger passed away, and so
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to call that a trauma with our generation, but it's colored, I think, the way that we view Jokers from now on of like, this is the character that could kill you.
Yep. So what's next?
So
Now.
Now-
Okay, so yeah, so now he gets the call.
It's the moment.
Murray's assistant calls
Yeah.
and is like, "We want to invite you onto the show."
Yep.
And of course, he wants to do it. He's down. He's like, "Sure, I'll go on there."
Yeah.
Like that's my idol. I feel like I know him. You know.
Yeah. So then he cuts his hair, he starts doing his makeup.
But this is why you should never meet your idols. I'm just going to throw that.
Well,
out.
and then he practices, and you're like, wait, is he gonna like do something to
Right?
himself?
Because he pulls the
Oh,
gun
yeah,
Is
out.
part of
he-
it? Is this his plan?
Well, that would be the ultimate joke, right? Because he is a joke
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
And there's that quote about how like his death will mean more than his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
I just want to say, like
Yeah.
he ever since he gets that gun,
yeah,
he has terrible trigger discipline.
yeah,
He dances with it.
yep.
He points it at himself way too many times.
Yep.
To be good.
Yeah,
I mean,
in the interest of,
So the
of
whole-
gun
like-
safety, we will tell you there is a proper way to handle a weapon,
Yes.
and there is an improper way to handle a
and
weapon.
so basically, every time you see this guy with it, don't do what he's doing.
Yeah, don't follow his example.
But it gives you the idea, like VIcki said, like he's planning on hurting himself.
Yeah, And he doesn't care
he's-
about himself.
and he's planning on doing it on the show.
yep.
And so this is when he starts painting up his face. And does he call Randall?
Randall just shows up.
Randall just shows up because
Okay,
the
so-
police are coming.
With Gary.
Here we come. Here's the
Yeah.
scene that really, really, really is uncomfortable.
And I'm so sorry, Vicky. I totally forgot about this scene.
But what is okay is I had like a bad feeling because
Yeah.
he had these scissors.
Yep.
And that's
And the movie does telegraph it. It does show him taking the scissors,
Yeah.
grabbing them, and you're just like, oh.
like you have a bad feeling. And
Yep.
they're talking. I don't remember what it was about, but it was escalating. And then he grabs it real quick, and then I just looked away because I was like, oh no,
and
this is happening.
I looked away too because it's full on. He just
It's
eviscerates-
brutal.
Yeah.
So since
Yeah.
Randall is the one that gave him the gun, the cops have kind of been coming around asking
Yeah.
questions because Arthur was like, "Oh, well, this guy at work gave it to me or whatever."
Well, no. So he actually. So this is the flash. We got to go back a little bit. So on his last day when he gets fired,
Yeah.
he says,
we do.
"Oh, Randall gave me the gun,
Right.
and told me or something." And then he like walks out. And then he walks back. And this is also improvised with the time
like-
clock.
I loved it.
Where he
Punch
That
out.
was
presses the
funny.
time clock. It was improvised. Joaquin Phoenix walked out of the scene, but came right back, and he like made the joke and boom, boom, boosh.
Yeah, he's like, I forgot to punch out.
my favorite part is after that when there's a sign, don't forget to smile. He crosses
Don't
out
forget.
like don't smile. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
is happening.
you tell him.
So this scene
So
is.
yeah, we got Randall with his little person with him.
Yep.
So he's like, "We need to have our stories on the same page with the
Yeah.
police."
Yeah.
And then that's when he attacks him.
He stabs him and kills him.
And he's
he
quick.
does not
It's
hurt
so
Gary. He tells Gary, he's like, you're the only one that's been nice to me.
And so you can leave.
The poor Gary can't leave.
He's
So
like,
this
he
is
can't
my
reach the
little,
lock.
I feel like kind of humor to
Yeah.
get rid, because that was a very tragic scene.
Yeah. And and the actor that played Gary, full on, is having a meltdown.
Yes.
And he's reacting like
Understandably
anybody
so.
would have reacted had they witnessed what they just witnessed.
Totally.
And I appreciate how the movie leans into that.
Yeah, came out
and
of left
lets
field.
poor Gary just go, and he doesn't stop. Like he is having a full
Yeah,
on.
and there's
like,
a part of me that's like, get out of there! What are you doing?
Me
Climb
too.
out the window!
but it's also shock. Like he
Yeah.
is in absolute shock. Like when shock hits you, you are immovable. You can't get yourself up.
Totally.
And
But he's trying to get out and he can't
yeah,
reach
like
the
Arthur's
lock.
like, you can go.
Can't
And then
even.
he stands up and like,
yeah, he tries to
Can
get it,
you
and he
please
just
unlock
he
the
goes,
door?
does he like kiss him on the head or something?
Yeah. You
And
were
he's like,
always so
skedaddle.
nice to me.
Yeah, he's like, you were always so nice to me. And
So there
which-
was that little. I guess I appreciate the humor in that moment, but it's,
I needed it because
yeah.
I forgot about that scene and I was like, oh my god.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty brutal. It's again, if you like the more evidence we get of this character, you don't like him. He's a menace. He's a terrible person. He's a murderer. He's evil and all this stuff. So then he cleans himself up. And
yeah.
Oh, and then he
He
tells Gary,
looks
you should
awesome.
watch me on the show tonight.
Yeah.
and then but then he's leaving, and the police see him.
Right.
And
And
they
he's
chase him.
dancing. He's having a moment.
The controversy about the song
because the writer is a bad person.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
with Gary Glitter being a bad person.
I
and
didn't.
stuff
I
like
guess
that.
I didn't know that history backstory.
They didn't want him to get any royalties, and they basically confirmed, no, he won't get any royalties.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is that staircase, is it the same staircase from, you may not, The
Exorcism.
Exorcist?
Couldn't tell you.
Like,
Because
I'll
my
have to
dad's
look it
like,
up.
that's the same staircase. I'm like, I couldn't.
and it
I don't
does
know.
look familiar. Halfway through asking the question, I'm like, I bet you Aaron has not seen The Exorcist.
Nope. And I'm not going to be seeing that one ever.
Can
I don't blame
just
you.
say- That is the only time I actually enjoy him coming down the stairs because every other time he's so depressed.
I agree.
And I'm like, you know
I
what?
feel bad for enjoying it, but I do
I'm
kind of.
like, you're free, man, and you're in your vibe, and you're colorful, and
So they're actually called the Shakespeare Avenue Stairs.
Okay.
And they're known for other things than just appearing in the fantastic. Well, your scale may matter on that one. So this is from TripAdvisor.
Yeah, it's a tourist location.
Yeah. So it
Where is that at?
in New York apparently. Joker Stairs. Where are what are the stairs? And they are known as the West 167th Street Step Stairs. It's a colloquial name for the step street connecting Shakespeare and Anderson Avenues in the hybrid, whatever. They also serve as the filming location. Oh, they're also going to be in the Joker sequel.
I've already seen
of
that
course they
scene
are.
with both of them.
People have reenacted the scene on the stairs.
Of course they
He
are.
became a meme.
So
like,
nothing about it being in other movies.
Standing by. Give me a moment to scroll through. See also the Exorcist steps. No, the Exorcist steps are somewhere else. They are in
Okay.
Georgetown, Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh.
There's your helpful information that you didn't need to know anything about, but now we
Yep.
told you. So yeah, he's dancing down the steps, and then the police chase him, and he runs.
Gets on the subway with all the other clowns that look just like him.
Yep. And so then the policeman accidentally shoots one of the people.
Oh, which is not good.
yeah.
Oh, it's so
That's
bad.
when-
I'm like, you irresponsible
For
cops.
real.
Yeah. So then they
That right
get
there.
punched out and thrown
City's a hot
around.
mess.
They get injured, but they ended up at the hospital without being dead, which I appreciate. The movie didn't try and like show some real intense killing action by the Joker crowd. So Joker escapes and is on his way.
And I don't know if you know. I think Phil actually pointed this out, but it looked like he was crying again because his makeup was running.
Yeah,
on one
so
side
like
again.
whenever he first pulls off whenever he gets out and he pulls off his mask and throws it down, he's got that tear going down.
Okay.
And then whenever we see him inside the what is it? The dressing room.
Yeah.
And he's got his makeup fixed and Maury comes and talks to him and he's concerned like what's with, the clown makeup?
Right.
People are going to have a problem
Is
with you
this a
doing
political statement?
that. Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Nah,
I'm not political.
I'm not political."
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is when it happens. This is when he goes, "When I come out, will you introduce me as Joker?"
Yeah, he finally.
And he is full-blown Joker from this point on.
Yep.
I'm still on the why De Niro is so pissed or mad.
It's fine. We can use that word.
Because they're literally in 2 scenes together. So why was he so upset about this table talk?
So here's the thing about Robert De Niro that I've come to understand. He, in his older age, he's become a little bit more cantankerous and cranky.
Okay.
And I think because he's Robert De Niro, he felt maybe like, oh, I can tell this guy what to do, whatever. When they're basically colleagues in the acting world, literally, they're pretty much adjacent.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, that's Joaquin Phoenix.
yeah,
like,
yeah. What are you doing with that? But it was amusing to me because I'm just like, yeah, Robert De Niro.
But literally 2 scenes, and they're like not even that long.
I know. So then we get the penultimate scene before all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, the one that I warned VIcki of.
Yeah.
After forgetting about all the others.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But yeah,
I
so
felt so bad.
so he gets interviewed here,
Yep.
and Zoe's got a quote.
Okay. Well, and to fair thing, I fast forwarded through a lot of this because I didn't like it.
Okay.
But again, it's not that I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the scene. It was uncomfortable. It was tense.
It was
and I
meant
knew,
to be.
Mission accomplished. Go ahead.
I wrote down a quote: "Nothing can hurt me anymore."
yeah, I noticed that.
He seems to think he's bulletproof.
But I don't remember when he says that.
He says it in the conversation with Murray.
Okay.
But there was
Yeah.
another one he says to him.
Well, this is like the ultimate. This
Right.
is like the ending.
Right.
I mean, basically.
So is there
So he says, "Do you want to hear a joke?" And he's already said all these horrible
Yeah.
jokes already. And he's
Yeah.
like, "I don't know, like if we need another one." But he says, "What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash?"
Yeah.
And then he says, "You get what you deserve," and that's when he
Shoots him.
in the head.
right in the freaking
That's when they kept
eyeball.
replaying on like the news. Just that line.
And I felt bad because I literally made Phil rewind that, so we had to watch it again so I could get the
so
quote.
she could get the quote. Yeah.
It's a visceral scene, and that whole back and forth between them, it's legit. Like Robert De Niro's character Murray.
It gets him to admit that he's responsible for
Yeah.
the subway murders.
And Murray plays the kind of moralistic preaching, almost the moralistic center, and says, no, that's not what we do on this show. That's not funny. That's not a joke we make.
But at the same time, he's making fun of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
the whole idea of putting him on the show was
Right.
to make him look bad. And
I think so. There's a deeper conversation about comedy that we can have or not have here, but there's an idea of comedy should be fun, comedy should be raw, comedy should be whatever. Comedy should not be shooting the host in the head. Like clearly that's. But there's a conversation about like sometimes comedy is comedy, and it's is it the question of whether or not again the Joker should have taken hurt from that is a whole level because at Lincoln we talk about don't say anything, say it nice or don't say it at all.
Yeah.
Like watch your words and stuff like that. That's still I still maintain that. Like don't be a jerk and don't bring somebody down. When we cross into the conversation about the comedy world, it's a whole other landscape because you've got people who will make jokes about people that are some people are just like what, but the comedy world the spectrum is really wide.
yeah.
And I have to understand that when I watch a show or I watch a comedy stand-up, I don't have to like it, and I recognize like this person's I'm not going to watch this person anymore. But if someone finds them absolutely hilarious, there's not a judgment there. So when we talk about what's funny and what's not, it's interesting because your point of he says, well, we don't do that on the show, we don't do that, and you said, well, he was perfectly fine. But in some ways, that's the true comedy thing is like, well, we're going to make fun of somebody if they're being weird and wacky, and that should be okay, and they should be able to handle that within the comedy world.
Right.
Comedy is rough. It is at times explicit. Is it at times blue? Yes. And I think that subtext within what Murray is doing and what he did with him, that retains and remains.
Yeah, and the Joker says, he's like, my whole life I thought it was he thought, excuse me, cut that out. He says, I thought my whole life was a tragedy.
Yeah.
He's like, when reality is a comedy.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
weird. So he's like, he thinks all these things are funny, and he's like, and it is.
Well, and he also says nobody thinks about what the other guy goes through.
Yeah.
So, which kind of goes to your point, like, yes, a normal, healthy person they're not gonna take that personally.
Yeah.
But with his mental state, he is.
Well, and he's off his meds.
Yeah.
Everything.
He's completely off.
Yeah, he is completely at a full tilt.
He's full-blown Joker now.
Yeah, full-blown Joker.
And we skipped this because you made me say the quote. But before that, he even says that he's opening his journal, flipping through all his jokes.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh, yeah, and it shows
that quote again
from the
of, I hope
beginning.
my death makes more sense than my life.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the turning point of, like, I'm not going to do that to myself.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah,
like,
but I'm
he's
gonna
not
do
going
it.
to hurt
I'm
himself.
going to do it to Murray.
Yeah.
And so he shoots Murray once in the head, which is horrifying.
And then he
And
shoots
the
him
rest
again.
in the
And
chest.
and then he
He sits there until he's arrested.
But I feel like this was very Joker-y when he, like, he pulls the camera to his face
Yeah.
and he's like, well, then they cut him off. But
Yeah.
it was just a whole vibe of, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So in that way, he portrays the Joker well. Like when he goes full blown Joker, we're like, okay, yeah, no, this is the Joker we know, and has been portrayed in different ways over the years. And then I don't think he doesn't get arrested at the movie at the TV station, does
Well,
he?
it cuts to him in the back of a car.
Okay, so he does get arrested.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
gets arrested.
And then so he's kind of watching all the riots and the madness.
Isn't it
And he's
beautiful?
yeah, it's
Beautiful.
beautiful.
And here's where a little bit of like where it becomes a situation where I'm no longer comfortable with what we're portraying on screen because we're talking full blown anarchy, riots, people are dying, like things are getting lit on fire.
Yep.
And so it's just not my jam. I just don't like seeing that kind because it sometimes feels like a lot of what we've seen in the last couple of years in major cities has been that riot aspect in a lot of those pieces, and so it cuts really close to the bone almost. And then he's in the police car. Okay, so this is I mentioned this to VIcki. Why is he not in an escort? Why is he not like being securely transported? Like he's just in the back of a little old police car.
He's not even in cuffs now that you think about it.
No, he's in cuffs. He is cuffed up in the back of the car.
But he is, like, moving all around.
Yeah, he's able to move around and do whatever. And then the car gets hit by an ambulance, which is driven by jokers. Police are obviously dead, and they pull him out.
It's Jesus.
And,
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it.
I
They
didn't
lay him
either.
they lay him across the hood of the police
They're
car.
praising
And he
him.
raises from the dead. Okay.
But before
You know
that,
what?
this is the
All
part
right,
that
hold
Aaron,
on a
call it an
second.
antichrist if it makes you feel better.
Here's the thing. Okay, look. Here's the thing. We have done the Christ resurrection stereotype, no pun intended, to death. Okay, we tried it with the Matrix,
yes.
with Neo coming back to life. And it's a tired trope. You can't
And honestly, I
Do
didn't think
something-
about it until right.
do something new. Because
Does
I
work.
was sitting there, I was just like, okay, so what's the point of this? The language arts teacher, didn't make the jump to the Christ resurrection imagery that they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
But now that I know, I blame Canada for this one.
Canada! Oh my gosh! Button.
It's okay. It's okay. There's just a bunch
Why
of,
Canada?
There's just a bunch of mooses and loons up there.
Oh my Lanta.
Don't you know? What is it?
Don't you
Yeah.
know?
Don't you
got
know?
a bunch of horses with police on them. The RCMP. Okay, so
And then we have the what am I trying to say?
They go to the mental hospital.
but like he
No.
does
No,
the
like-
thing.
Yeah,
he
with the
makes
blood.
full smile.
So it's like he is now
the Joker.
fully the Joker.
Well, and so what they talked about in IMDb is that there was a plan to actually have him cut.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
I
'cause
could not
that's-
have.
And
No.
and
After
I
Heath Ledger's-
and when I read that, I was like,
No.
"Please, I'm so glad you didn't." I still don't. It still is a very like you shudder as he does the blood
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And then he starts his
Before he gets up, though, that's when they get Brucey's dad in the
Yeah.
alleyway.
which again we've talked
And
about
Mom.
earlier, and is absolutely it feels like it was shoehorned in. If quite literally, if you had just not had it, and then later had a report, and tonight reports are that Thomas Wayne and his wife Martha are dead, murdered in an alleyway in Gotham. That's all you needed. There was no reason to connect them the Joker event to that, because then what it does is it does acknowledge the fact that in the original Batman, the idea was that Jack Napier killed Bruce Wayne's parents in Batman 1989, which I don't appreciate. Even like I get why they did it within the structure of the story, but it doesn't make it okay. The idea behind Joker is he doesn't have a past. He has no place in Batman's story except when he becomes a master criminal and Batman begins to investigate him. And in the Dark Knight Rises, the Dark Knight. They do. He does all his background stories don't make any sense. They're not real, and he tells the story. Vicky mentioned
It
this.
changes
It
every
changes
time. It's very
And so
unsettling.
that's the beauty of the Joker character is that nobody knows where he came from, and it doesn't matter where he came from. He's just a bad dude, which is part of why I get why we did an origin movie. And again, it's a great film. Joaquin Phoenix killed it. Whatever. But it just anyway. So
This is where
think
we're
it-
in different camps. I love origin movies. I like to
Me
know where things
too.
come from.
That's why I think I actually did enjoy it, because I wanted to know his backstory.
there's no reason to have done Cruella de Vil's origin story.
Oh my gosh, please not again.
We knew she was evil by the fact that she would skin puppies for her coats.
Aaron,
We
I've
didn't need to see that. And the thing
It's
about
all-
Maleficent,
You knew you were gonna bring this up.
We knew she was mean. We knew she was bad. But so here's the beauty of it, and then we'll move on. So the reason why I don't like origin stories, especially the recent editions, is we knew. So for specifically Cruella de Vil, we know she's mean. We know she's evil. We know she's bonkers because this is a woman who again skins Dalmatian puppies for her coats. You don't need to explain that to me. You don't need to tell me the story. All you got to do is Cruella de Vil, ain't nobody meaner than Cruella de Vil. I will fill in the blanks for you as an audience member. As a viewer, I'm going to watch the original cartoon and even watch the new with Glenn Close when she was Cruella. Whew, she was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I will fill in the blanks. You don't got to tell me the story. Now, Joker is an exception because it was a really great movie. The other origin movies can just take off. I don't care. But like, there's just this idea that you don't need to do an origin story for every villain. I don't, and partially because I feel like the movies are trying to be like, it's okay that they're bad because look at their trauma and their terrible childhood and their terrible ways they were treated. That doesn't make it okay for you to kill people. And that's a thing that annoys me. Now, on the counseling side, you have an understanding of like, well, things happen that bring people to these moments, and it's important to understand that in the real world.
to help them move forward.
Right. To take a fictional character and be like, it's okay that, Dr. Evil was like mistreated as a child and had his lollipop stolen by his friend. That means he can destroy the world for $1 million. No.
100 million.
100 million. I don't need
Don't
an
forget the
origin
Pinky
story
Ring.
on Dr. Evil. I don't need an origin story on Maleficent. I don't need an origin story on Cruella de Vil.
I would
He's
love an
gesturing
origin
towards-
story on Dr. Evil.
I think it'd be hilarious. Like, why the pinky? Why?
And the sun. I just want to know everything.
Why the shiny dome?
Yeah.
There you go. There's your
We
$1
know
million
about Mr. Bigglesworth.
There's your $1 million idea, Disney, or whoever's in control of
Disney.
that property anymore.
Oh,
Go do a Dr. Evil introspective. Anyway, so like, here's the other thing that really. Okay, well, we'll get to the asylum. Anything else in this moment, in this scene that we need to talk about, besides the fact that the Christ resurrection thing is overdone and needs to do something new?
He does. I'm pretty sure for a split moment, he does see Bruce in the alleyway, and they make eye contact.
I totally missed that.
I missed
I
that as
think
well.
so. Like it,
Because I actually was wondering, where did Bruce go?
because there was a
After that.
shot of an alleyway, and I'm like, why is that there? But I'm pretty sure it was Bruce in there.
Okay, maybe.
Which would, get Bruce's hatred for the Joker guy.
Right.
He's like, yeah, you're responsible for my parents now.
And then we fast forward to him in the mental institution.
Okay, so here's what cranks me off and makes me angry. So, he's a madman. He's a murderer. He's absolutely nuts. Like, beyond crazy, beyond mentally ill. Like, there is a psychosis and a sociopath in that head. You know this. You are aware of all that he's done. You've been able to catalog it with the arrest and the what happened on television. And you don't shackle the man in the interview room?
He did
Yeah.
have handcuffs, but I don't think he had the...
No,
Yeah, he wasn't.
he
like-
wasn't. There was nobody else in
He
the
could,
room.
he could get up and do whatever he wanted.
And
but
so
he
what
was just
happens is
handcuffed.
she's the interview, and it is what it is. It's a really great moment in cinema, like back and forth. And then he walks out with blood on his shoes.
Yeah.
The implication, no, not the implication. This is absolutely he murdered her
Yep.
in a locked down asylum.
Yeah.
The ineptitude.
She shouldn't have asked what was funny.
Zoe.
Just kidding. I'm so just...
I can't even with you right now, to borrow your phrase.
Because he's like, he wouldn't understand, and then it cuts to that, and I'm just like, what just...
Oh, that was your reaction, Aaron. You're
So
just like,
angry.
why is there blood on her shoes?
Right. And I was like, so
Basically.
you're basically saying, like, and so then he just walks.
But then did you see them chasing?
Yeah. Like, here's the
It was like something in the cartoons, with
Here's
actually
like when
what
they're
it was
running
like.
through all the doors.
Yeah, yeah.
here's the thing is if that
Scooby-Doo.
scene, if it had been done in a way where she like gets up and like we see her like he says you wouldn't understand, and then like really fast, like the scene with what's his bucket getting stabbed.
Oh, Randall, yeah.
He stands up and like hits her, knocks her out, and then says you wouldn't get it,
What?
and then walks
Oh,
out.
so you want it to be more dramatic?
Well, no, but like think about it. Think about this for a second, because my issue is like either shackle him up.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't like. There's no reason for them to not. He should be in a full on suit
He would be.
at this point.
Yes.
But again, the movie this is that cheap. What I would argue is a cheap piece.
Yeah.
It's the Thomas Wayne cheapness that combined with this is like.
Honestly, if I would have seen that
okay, so-
quote in his journal, I would have put him on a 72-hour hold. Like,
Yeah.
that should have happened from the very beginning.
Well, Zoe and I both agree that like, out of all this movie, if there was one scene we could change, it would have been that one.
Yeah.
It should have been him sitting there talking, and then in walks the doctor. She sits down and says, "Hi, I'm Dr. Quinn."
because this
okay.
is setting up for the next movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And but I was...
And it just cuts to black.
yeah.
Roll
Yeah.
credits.
I thought that would have been good. But they
Yes.
might have not known who Harley Quinn was going to be yet, I guess.
Oh, they could have had like hit her back towards the
Yeah,
camera or
totally.
something, not see her face.
There's always ways to. But yeah, this ending scene felt too much. Like they're like, ooh, we've done a lot with this movie. Let's do a little bit more. Oh, we're going too fast.
Yeah, it's just to get another body count in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
but what is the song that he's singing?
It's a life, I think.
That's life.
That's life.
So that's
That's
Murray.
life.
That's Murray's theme song on his show. That's life. So it's, I don't know. I would have felt better had he like been able to like escape or do something. It felt too much. It was like, okay, you've done no.
Well, he's definitely gone fully off the deep end.
Yeah, he has. So
They
that's how
took
the
a
movie
dive,
ends,
yeah.
and it says the end, and that's the end of
On
the
to the
Joker.
next one.
Yep, which is going to be.
I want to go critical though. I feel like it's becoming a trope during parts of a film where a lot of violence is happening and death, where they just play like a fun song from the 50s. I'm seeing this over and over. I'm getting a little tired of it.
Yeah.
Let's move on from this trope,
Yeah.
please.
Agreed.
Yeah, because it feels overused,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, look, you've got 90 years of music to
real.
dig through, and there's a lot of music that's been produced out there. Find something different, could you please, or find a different way to frame the scene.
I think the music in this movie works because it puts you kind of like in the mindset of the Joker. Like he's not in a dark place while he's doing these things. He's manic,
Yeah.
And so that's the song that was playing in his head, or he said that one song was playing on the radio, like My Name is Carnival or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's my clown name.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, so we'll go around. We'll do our rating. This will be a very interesting.
It will be a very, very interesting.
So I'm gonna have two different ratings. My rating is if I could sit down and really clinically diagnose this movie. There you go. If I could clinically diagnose and explicate this movie, I think it would probably be in the 9.5 territory, because again, it's a competent film. It's competent directing. It's competent acting. I mean, I would agree, like beyond competent. It is just that good.
It handles its subject very well.
Yeah, it knows how to. It has the gravitas. It knows how to. It earns 95% of the scenes that it creates, and it handles the mythology 90% of the time well. And it is an absolute. It's a movie that you should, if you're wanting to watch symbolism, theme, all of that play out in front of you. Yeah, this is the movie.
Lots of foreshadowing.
Yeah, lots of foreshadowing and lots of like interesting ideas about humanity and what we go through and what we deal with. Yeah, 9.5. If I'm sitting here as Aaron, who watches movies
How do you feel, Aaron?
like 5.0, like not even 5. Just here's the thing. I don't want to get punched repeatedly in the stomach and the heart for 2 hours. It's not my jam. I don't enjoy movies like that. There's been movies I've watched up until a certain point, and I walked out of her. I just shut off, and I was like, nope, you didn't earn it. And this is unacceptable. Yeah, it's just,
It didn't leave you with a happy feeling.
It didn't. It's not even just happy. It didn't leave me with a sense of like, yeah, this has meaning for me. This is, I did not like it. And but that's a personal, technical and film, and like if you look at it through all the other lenses, absolutely a fantastic film.
He lost 52 pounds for you, Aaron.
Yeah, he did. And
That actually concerns me.
he went.
Then I read that.
Yeah, he went through a lot to get that shape, that body shape. But yeah, again, Joaquin Phoenix, he's a legend. He's an acting great. He's one of the best in the business. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to do it. And all the actors in this movie did their roles well. But it's just, in the end, when I sit down and go through, do I ever want to watch this again? The answer is no. And so that's why like a 5 would probably be my highest rating that I could give it. So, all right, let's go around the horn. Vicky.
What you got?
Sorry.
Going around the horn here on radio. I don't know what we got.
I don't know what we're on.
Very similar to Aaron's answer. This is a well-made movie. It makes you think. Like, I would definitely give that part of it a 9. I mean, personally, yes, I walked out of it feeling sad, feeling unsettled. It's not a movie that I enjoyed. I think it's a movie that is important.
Yeah.
No,
I would give it a little higher than you. I think I would maybe rate it a 6.5.
Okay.
I would go a little higher. I don't know if I would watch it again. I'm kind of in the middle. Like there's a part of me knowing what I know now. Like I'm more the ones like I'll go back and watch commentaries on it. That's kind of where I landed with this, where I left being really fascinated and thought provoked with it.
Yeah, I give it a 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like the Joker.
Yeah.
I am a fan. Usually, when it comes to these superhero type movies, I'm usually a fan of the villain.
Yeah.
And like I told you, like when I play video games that offer you that choice, I
Yeah.
go the bad route.
Yeah.
Like Venom is one of my favorite characters. He's not a good guy.
Nope.
I also love superhero movies like Spawn.
Yeah.
And he is very much like an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it didn't bother me as much as you guys.
Okay.
So
That's fair.
Yeah.
And obviously, Zoe, yours is a 10 out of 10.
So yeah, it's funny because after it stopped, Phil was like, "Is it still a 10 out of 10?" I'm like, "Oh, definitely,
She's like,
still
yes.
a 10 out of 10." I guess I did want to know the Joker's backstory, not being into comics and all that,
Yeah.
and I never felt like any of the other Jokers kind of gave any backstory. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I want to know how you got to this point, and that does go back to why I became a
counselor,
counselor,
right.
Sure.
and all those things. And I do, Aaron, you might disagree with.
More than likely.
But I do feel like it made the Joker more human in the human condition of suffering, and
yeah,
like that part of it, I think it gave him some humanness in the beginning.
Right.
I don't think what he did after that was right.
I think it's a story of losing your humanity.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there are elements of him that exist in the first half of that movie and even the first 3/4 of that movie where he's still human. You have indications and kind of little gleaming moments of the true character of who he is in his heart. But once he goes off his meds, once he murders, there is no humanity left in the Joker. It is gone.
Right.
And I think to your point, there is a kind of a moral of the story is you never want to be in a position where where you've left your humanity behind.
Right. Yeah.
You want to always be fighting to get more of it back and to fill yourself up with more of that humanity and that realness and that beauty of what it is to be human, and in what the beauty of sometimes what the struggles and the wins and the losses, they are who we are. They make our story. And to borrow our principal's line, every story matters. The Joker story matters. Is it not going to end well? Obviously not. And I think what we can take away from that is you don't want to be in a position where you lose your humanity and your story is no longer your own. You're no longer in control of your story and you have no way to get it back. You never want to go that far. You never want to lose who you are as a human being to that point. And so I think that's something to take away from this you don't want to go down this path, fight it, find ways to get help. And in 2024, thankfully, we've got a lot more services available.
And this is where I feel bad for him because he asked for help.
Yeah,
Multiple times.
I was going to say like it also shows that like we need our therapists, we need our counselors,
Yep.
and we need our good therapists and our good counselors, and not just. And I mean, like I'm gonna say right now, like if you're on a medication and it helps you, great, but not medication isn't always the answer for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's why we need good people to talk to
Yep.
that can talk to us and, as Zoe says, like walk you through it, like get you along. And this movie speaks great deals to that because his only help got shut down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So just mental health is important, and if you need help, you should seek it out. And there are people out there that will be there for you.
We'll go ahead and provide some numbers as well, just
Yes,
because
that's a
it's
good
important. National Suicide Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273-8255. In Colorado, help is available as well, and I think this is also probably nationwide, dialing 988.
You can call or text that number.
You can call or text that number. And if you're experiencing a mental health crisis, always dial 911. Do the things you need to do to make sure that you are safe.
Whatever you got to
I'm
do.
glad you pulled that up, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we
Especially for this movie, it makes
it
sense
because
to
it
go.
does cut close to the bone. I think.
Yeah.
Because there are multiple allusions to suicide or suicidal ideations, And that's important to talk about. We talked about on another podcast that's not a part of Create Up Morgan. We talked about suicide. I'll link you actually into that here later today.
Can you talk about it in your book?
Yeah. So I wrote a book. It's called 7 Days, a Seven Falls story. And it opens with a young lady coming in off of a suicide attempt on a bridge in a small town in rural Montana. And we come to find out that this bridge has been used before, and there's a whole story there. But there's a lot of conversation about how she gets to a point where she no longer wants to die, she wants to live. But it's a journey to get there, and it's important to recognize that it's a mental health is a journey. Mental health is not a destination.
Quick fix.
There's no quick fix to it.
It's not quick. It's speaking. It's not a counselor, but someone who's gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's painful, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and it's important because that's, I think, the human condition is that life is a challenge, but it is absolutely possible to get help and to get through it and to find a way to push through and to get what you need and to cope and all those things. So hear us loud and clear. If you're experiencing or if you know somebody, do check in on them, do some check-ins, get some resources, things like that. Outside of that, next week is
A Knight's Tale.
comedy. We're bouncing. We're comedy
Yeah.
action. I absolutely adore this movie.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
I've only
I
seen
love
it
this movie
once. It
too.
was a long time ago. I don't remember anything. So please
It's
don't tell me
called-
anything till we see
It's
it.
called Alliance. Hello. It is. It's every
Very
act-
quotable.
Oh, it's such. And it's every.
and
act-
it's Heath Ledger at his
I miss
most
him.
gorgeousness.
yeah.
Like I have my fiance right here beside me, and I'm like, Heath Ledger is beautiful. in this movie.
Is your man crush?
Well, and it-
My little
it's-
bromance.
It spotlights Heath Ledger's ability as an actor. Like we're going to talk about this next week, but he absolutely just sinks into this role and just inhabits it. But it's not just that. It's
His supporting actors are great.
the supporting actors and the cast that this movie is some of the most like it's like it rivals to 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh yeah.
It absolutely, and both have Heath Ledger in them, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it absolutely is in that ranking of movies that are just. Because when did A Knight's Tale come out? Was that-
2001.
So yeah, so that's about also when when did 10 Things I Hate About You come
I think
out?
it was like right before that.
I think 10 Things I Hate About You was 1999.
Yeah.
So 99 to 2000, 2001 was.
So
some-
it was like his like big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and it's amazing to think that like we got some really good movies in that time. There's a book I actually purchased. I need to sit down and read, and we might actually do it as a book club here, as part of the podcast. But it basically profiles 1999 as the best year in movies, and it's a whole book. And so it's sitting on my shelf upstairs. I'm gonna take a crack at it this week, and we'll see what we can do about watching some of the best movies of 1999 after we do this. And there's gonna be maybe some surprises in there.
Probably, yeah.
I'm hoping we'll see. So yeah, next week is A Knight's Tale, and then after that, it's my movie, which
The
is
Apartment.
The Apartment
Apartment.
with Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine.
Yes.
And I probably actually need to go back and watch it on my own to make sure that my memory is good on how good this movie is. But what I remember,
I've never seen it.
What I remember doing when I watched it the first time, and I think I just stumbled on it on like a lark.
Yeah.
Was I was just like in silence as the credits rolled, and I was like, "This was the best movie ever." So that's what my memory is.
I didn't realize that. I just thought, oh, it's a black and white movie. Of course,
No,
he
it's-
chose it.
It's. I have that memory in my heart of just it being that good. So I'm curious, and our listening audience, we've acquired some folks. I'm curious what movies you think are your top 10. We're going to put this survey out to you, and through Spotify, I can actually put a poll.
Oh, cool.
In Spotify, I can do it. So here's your poll. Here's your answer question. And you can send an email to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Again, that email is adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Email us a list of your movies that you think are 10 out of 10. You don't have to justify it. I'm just going to be curious. I want to be like, okay, let's play that game. We will promise to credit you and read them on the air, and we might offer some opinions on what we think of your list. We won't be mean. We won't be like Murray. We'll be kind. We'll be encouraging.
Yes, please.
So I actually have one here from
Okay.
a viewer already.
Oh, wow.
So my sister texts me. She goes, "I know you guys are doing 10 out of 10 movies on your podcast.
Yeah.
Because your sis throw hers in." I was like, it would take us time to watch it, like if we're going to do that. But
Yeah.
She says, I'm probably going to butcher the name, but it's called Suzume, Suzume, and it's apparently an anime movie.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God!
Wow.
no
All
idea.
I didn't
right,
know you were into that,
listen,
Aaron.
listen up, Megan. This is for you.
Suzume 2022. Is it 2022?
I believe. I don't know. Probably.
Is it
If it's an anime, that's probably it.
Suzumi 2022? It looks like. It's an animated. Yeah, it's Japanese, I believe. So on IMDb, Suzumi has a rating of 7.7 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 96%.
Wow.
And my anime list is 8.3 out of 10. So,
I actually have a top 10 movie that's anime also.
which is that?
It's either Grave or Graveyard of the Fireflies.
Okay.
The thing is, I will not make us watch it for this podcast.
Okay.
I thought about it. It's so good. It's Japan
Yeah.
during World War II and what
okay.
the civilians are going through.
Okay.
This movie made me ugly cry.
Really?
Like, it's sad.
I don't think I've ever
It's
seen
sad. But
I
if
know
you
it
look
says
it up,
something.
I'm gonna look it up right
If
now.
a guy
on-
ugly cries,
Right.
we have no chance
While
in
he
the
looks
world.
it up, I'm going to read the quote on Suzumi.
Yeah, do it.
If it's the movie that we're talking about, Suzume.
Yes.
Okay. As the skies turn red and planet trembles, Japan stands on the brink of disaster. However, a determined teenager named Suzume sets out on a mission to save her country. Able to see supernatural forces that others cannot, it's up to her to close the mysterious doors that are spreading chaos across the land. A perilous journey awaits as the fate of Japan rests on her shoulders.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So there's a show on Netflix. It only got one season. It was called it's not Lock and Key.
Oh,
Lockwood
yeah.
and Co.
yeah.
Okay, Lockwood and Co. Did you watch it at all?
I think I have, but I don't remember it.
So it's basically you at 50, from 1 to 15 or something, you have the ability to be a Ghostbuster basically and fight ghosts. The older you get towards 18, you lose that ability and that talent.
Well, that's lame.
But it's interesting because it puts kids in charge of fighting the ghosts and
And they're
supernatural.
deadly.
Yeah, it's a really good series.
Ghostbusters is like tame and cartoony compared to that.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
intense, but it's good. Like I think in my conversations with Chris Sherrill on our other podcast, I've called the show like beautiful and like just a work of art because it's just. And I was so sad we didn't get a season 2. I was actually like verbally angry when I read it on Twitter. I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" So yeah, Suzumi will be that, and then we'll
So I got Grave of Fireflies Rotten Tomatoes pulled up.
okay.
100%, 45 reviews.
Jeez.
Audience score 95 with over 50,000 ratings.
When does that ever happen?
And that is because I'm telling you, you're not going to watch this movie and not cry.
Okay.
Like you're going to cry.
Okay.
But it's a adorable movie. It's Studio Ghibli, so
Okay. So
Yeah,
we'll
they
we'll
do-
put that on the list. Maybe just even for like a quick hit. Like
Yeah.
because to do full dive into that sounds really heartbreaking.
yeah.
But we could do a quick hit because I'll watch it. I mean, I'll take a look at it. So there you go. There's some recommendations for you out there in the world. But again, if you've got a top 10 movie or a list of top 10 movies, and again, it needs to be not like, oh, they're really good or that's a good movie. No, what do you believe? What the hill that you would die on?
And they don't have to be critically. It don't
No.
it don't have to be Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
If your favorite movie is Howard the Duck, put that on the list.
Howard the
To be
Howard-
fair, critics didn't like the Joker.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, I know.
They were like, oh, they
But the
stole this
audience
idea
score
from
was
this.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was like an 80
Yeah.
something.
So Howard the Duck was actually a Marvel product.
Yes.
And
What?
all- and
What?
He's
I am
back
so
in the What
confused.
If.
What is Howard
Yeah.
the Duck?
Google it.
Howard the Duck. Yeah.
It's a movie, and doesn't Jason Alexander
Googling it
voice
now.
Howard the Duck?
I can't remember. That movie is so crazy. I'm like, dude, you got a human girlfriend. Like,
Zoe, you need to Google this.
Oh, God. I'm scared.
Howard the
Yo,
Duck.
I can't even.
it's got some nightmare fuel, man. At
Wait,
the
it
at
really
the
does.
end, at the
Okay,
end
let me know
where
when you
the-
find it.
Okay.
When the villain turns into that big freaky monster, I was
Yeah.
like, this is 90s special effects at its best.
That's
It is.
I think that was actually in the 80s, right?
yeah,
when the movie
it was
came
one of the
out?
80s. Yeah,
1986.
yeah.
Yeah.
Says here my
There, so
sister
here's
was
yeah.
born.
As
She found it.
yeah.
It's scary.
It's funny.
If you really want to do some investigating out there in the audience, just Google Howard the Duck.
I know. It's like
And
they
why
tried
is it
to.
a 2-hour movie?
It's like they took Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck, and they tried to do computer realistic animation
I think it's a
before their
costume.
time.
No, it's a costume.
costume.
Howard the
That
Duck is
is
a
Oh,
costume.
I
horrid.
see it.
Yeah, it's a costume. It's an absolute. It's an
Wait.
absolute thing.
Why is Robert Williams? He was not in this, was he?
Maybe. It's been
What do
a
you
while since I've
mean?
seen it.
Maybe.
There you go. So,
So yeah, if that's
Okay, this.
you know, give us
I
your
don't
top
know.
10.
No,
me
no,
see.
no.
Yeah, but you're a horror movie fan.
Yeah, that's the comic picture.
I just got to throw this out here real quick because
Okay.
Phil made this statement. So, you know how I like The Terrifier, which I would never make you watch.
right.
But his name is also Art,
And he's also a clown.
and he's also a clown. So we were kind of like, why do they always name clowns like Arthur or Art? Like,
I think
it a
because
thing?
Art and Arthur, like, it's an old school name. And
Okay.
again, this is no judgment. If your name is Art or Arthur out there, please don't take this as a judgment. But it's an old name, right?
Okay.
And it's kind of quirky and eccentric. Like, I don't know anybody named Arthur right now in 2024 that I am
No,
friends
me
with. So it's kind of like, oh, your name is Arthur, and you're like, it's just like nobody. There's people who are named Gertrude. Like, if you wanted to make someone look weird and awkward and eccentric in film, and you did it through like makeup and whatever, you would give them a name Gertrude, so that every time you heard it, you'd be like, oh, that's Gertrude, because it's that hard ger.
okay.
Whatever. We're getting into too much.
Here's a
of,
Gertrude that was a very special part of my childhood.
Oh,
Honestly, she like worked for my grandma.
Okay.
I have fond memories of Gertrude.
Like I'm saying, no judgment on existing Gertrude people.
Seriously,
You're-
she was
you're
so
fine.
sweet.
Do your Gertrudiness and live your Gertrude life as you Gertrude through time and space.
and on that note,
And on that,
Before you
Thank
insert
you.
Gertrude anymore,
thank you, Zoe. And on that Gertrude note, my name is Aaron,
I'm Vicky.
I'm Phil.
and I'm Zoe.
and that's the end. We'll see you next week for A Knight's Tale and more to
We
come.
will rock you. Yeah.
Peace out. Good night.
Bye.
Whoops.
The raspberry flop of ours will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.
You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, a language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.